Very good morning from Durban, the Durban Promenade. We're coming to you from the finish line of the 20th edition of the F&B Durban 10-kilometer Citysurfrun. It is the third time we are hosting this event here in Durban. And of course, it is part of the F&B Run Your City series, which started in 2015 and now has three events nationwide: Cape Town, the F&B Cape Town 12-1 run, the Joburg 10K City Run, and the F&B Durban 10-kilometer Citysurfrun. And looking at today's weather forecast, joined in commentary here by Kieran Walker, who is from Durban. Kieran, what does it look like for the runners there?
Yeah, conditions are not the greatest with the wind, especially when you know you've got such a world-class elite international field that's assembled here today. So in terms of fast times, it's going to be a little bit difficult, especially as the athletes make their way from the start just by Blue Lagoon all the way down Masabalala Yengwe Avenue. It's going to be in their face, but we can expect a very fast finish if this wind stays behind their back coming through here, this beautiful venue where we are at the Durban beachfront.
Well, of course, lots of prize money at stake. 250,000 Rand is the total prize money, and some good incentives there for the South Africans, Q. And the win, as you said, might be a bit of a problem, but South African record on the line is a 50,000 Rand bonus. If the top men break, the South African men break 23, basically break 28 minutes, it's a 30,000 Rand bonus. This is our prize money then for the first prize, 30,000 Rand down to 10th place, 2,000 Rand prize money for the men and the women. It's equal pay, remember, and the total prize purse there is 250,000 Rand. And lots of money at stake for the leaders and for the winners. And one wonders, Kieran, just in terms of the field, we'll obviously talk a little bit about that a little bit later, but will the South Africans come to the party?
Yeah, I think, you have to look towards Elroy Galanta, I would say. He is coming off that Cape Town Marathon not so long ago, but he performed really well in the F&B Joburg 10K. So I think he's definitely someone to watch. Stephen is here. He's a South African record holder, but unfortunately I don't think he would be right up there right now, considering he just came back from Doha.
Well, let's have a quick look at what happened here in the 2017 race. That obviously is the inaugural race, where initially we had some like 7,000 athletes or so as they headed off just outside of the iconic Moses Mabhida Stadium. A huge pack there that was being led by Joshua Cheptegei, a big name. Dominic Scott Erford made an appearance here, of course, an Olympian, and went to the World Championships this year. But this big lead men's pack stayed together quite a lot in the early stages of the race. The women, not so much. South Africans in there were obviously Elroy Galan, Stephen Mokoka, but driving this was the European, the Swiss athlete Julian Wonders. He very, very often went to the fore quite high, quite strongly there. And a lot of the international athletes there, we had Pascalia Dorcas in there, there's Dominic Scott, Merceline Chelengats in there. Stephen Kisa then driving the men's race, Mokoka sitting there very pretty. And as they came round for about the last 2 or 3 kilometers, it was Joshua Cheptegei and Stephen Kisa who started to walk away, whereas in the women's race there was a lot more contestant going on. This is about where Joshua Cheptegei started to put on the afterburners, and Cheptegei, of course, became the World Cross Country Champion this year and the 10,000 meter national champion this year. And this is why he is such a class athlete. You can see how he ran away there from Stephen Kisa through the Puma Mile, and then he would go past the Suncoast Casino and then hang a left onto the promenade. The women's race was much tighter contested affair. Merceline Chelengat, then still a teenager from Uganda, looking really, really good, as was this man, Joshua Cheptegei, who pretty much broke away in the last kilometer and a half and had the race sewed up. And a really, really good time. He crossed the line in 27:28, which was the 4th fastest time in the world that year. And of course, one of the fastest times in South Africa ever run. This is where Merceline Chelengat made her move. She came through in a personal best in 31:33. And that was the 2017 highlights. And really, really fantastic way to start the first of the F&B Durban 10-kilometer city surf races. So 2018, the big contenders were back. There was Yvette van Zyl. She was looking for something really, really special. She had a phenomenal year in 2018. and was looking for something special here in Durban. It was a massive start, more than the previous year in terms of entries. The obligatory TV runner, and there was Stella Chisang and the Yvette van Zyl really looking very strong that year. But as in the past, it was Julian Wonders who would be setting the pace. Joshua Cheptegei sitting very pretty as he always does before he starts to take control. Elroy Galant at that point in time looking very good. And this was the race for second and third in the women's race. Whereas up front, Joshua Cheptegei was starting to drive the bus. Stella Chisang coming to the front and having a really good race in the women's race, as was Yvette van Zyl. She was having an absolute blindness. And this is roundabout where Joshua Cheptegei took control at the Puma 100-meter sprint. And Joshua Cheptegei now moving away. And that was roundabout the 8 kilometers. Stella Chisang was really in control of the women's race. And 8 kilometers, here we go, was Joshua Cheptegei moving away. Julian Wonders beginning to struggle. He was looking over his shoulder, making sure second place was confirmed. And Yvette van Zyl looking really good there. She was chasing a time of sub 32 and came very close. But this man, Joshua Cheptegei, total control of the race. 27:16, which was an all-comers record, so the fastest ever in South Africa, and also the fastest on African soil in 2018. Stella Chisang was in total control of the women's race. This was the last kilometer where she came in. There was daylight between her and the rest of the field, and she too would come in for a new personal best, and what was then an all-comers record, which has subsequently been broken. That was 31:14, and Stella Chisang, with the Commonwealth 10,000 meter champion in 2018, seems to be liking South Africa. Well, these are the scenes now here in Durban, and it's the times from last year's results. Stella Chisang taking Mercelin Chelangat quite comfortably there. Yvette van Zyl 32:06, just missing out on that sub 32 clocking. She was disappointed. She was really gunning for it, and I have never seen her run so hard to chase a time. She was in phenomenal form in 2018. And hoping to see much of the same this year here in 2019. Glenrose Kaba has come through very well this year as well. Good run there. And this is how the men's looked. 27:16 then for Joshua Cheptegei. It is the all-comers record here in South Africa. It is the course record here. And it was the second fastest time in the world last year. A huge performance there by Julian Wonders. A European record, a Swiss record. And Moses Koech and Stephen Kisa and Monday Bushendich taking the top 5. So all foreigners taking the top 5, with Stephen McCorker running his best time here on this course, 28:18. He's a much better athlete than that, and hope to see some fireworks from him today. Interesting, Ryan Pachlele was there in 8th. The Tornado from Tembisa is what they call him, a superb 59-meter athlete. Elroy Galant there finishing in 9th. Well, Kieran, it's a bit breezy here on the finish line, but we're going to go down to the start to Mosibudi Whitehead and see what it's like down there as the 9,000 runners gather for that start at 7 o'clock.
Good morning and welcome from the start of the 2019 FNB Durban 10-kilometer Citysurfrun. Almost 10,000 runners have descended upon this race this year in 2019 to run through the streets of Durban. What about the weather there? Slightly overcast. There was a little bit of wind this morning, but right now the conditions looking perfect for a very fast race. We're expecting a great women's race, as you've heard the guys Manfred Seidler and Kuhn Walker tell us. But what's important here is the guys at the back of the field who are just streaming in. We're standing here next to batch E as the guys walk in, and we'll greet them. Sanbona ninjani khulumani nami niqhamukapi amagama. 45 minutes because of the weather, she says. She's fit. Gents, ngathi uzonishiya phansi lo.
Hayi mfethu, mina ngomuzi ngangcobo ngiqhamuke emawoti namhlanje ngigesile u30 minutes.
30 minutes?
Ya, ngoba ngangishayile 47 minutes last year, manje ngigesile u30 minutes.
He says he ran 47 minutes last year, and this year he wants to run 30 minutes. Ujime kahle kodwa?
Ya, ngijime kahle mfethu, hayi ngifithi ngokwanele.
Hola. Okay, Sisi?
Yebo futhi.
Ngabe amalungiselelo wakho ahambe kahle?
Yes, bahambe kahle and I'm ready. Last year ngenza 1 hour 15 and the aim yami ukuthi ngenze at least 1 hour 10.
Aha. So there you have it. She says 1 hour 15 last year, 1 hour 10 this year is what she's aiming for. And this is the vibe on the start. We've got lots of different buses coming on, people trying to run sub 45 minutes or sub 50 minutes, and also those doing it for charity wearing fancy dress. So a lot happening here at the 2019 FNB Durban 10 kilometer city surf run. That's the back end of the field. We'll go back to the guys in studio who will tell us a little bit more about the fast time that we're expecting this year, in particular Stephen Kisa from Uganda, who should run sub 27 minutes if the weather agrees.
Well, there you have it from the start line. Musibori Whitehead having a lot of fun. Q and this guy, 47, wants to run 30 minutes. He's going to be with the top ladies.
Yeah, that's going to be quite interesting to see, especially because he had a C batch seeding there, so he's going to have to run through a lot of people. But as we look at the elite women, without a doubt, Manfred, the most competitive women's field we've seen over 10 kilometers in the history of South Africa. Evelyn Churcher, 66-minute half marathon runner, Pauline Wanjiku as well from Kenya. But a beautiful field assembled here, and it's going to be a case of, can the South Africans keep up? I don't think we're going to see some of the South Africans, especially with the likes of Sheila Chepkurui, who's run 29:57, the fastest time in the world this year over 10 kilometers, and she's here in Durban.
Yeah, Sheila Chepkurui, a huge coup for the organisers here, and well done to the organisers for bringing out the fastest lady in the world, the second fastest ever. She's missing that world record by 13 seconds. That's Sheila Chepkurui from Kenya. The defending champion in there as well, Stella Chesang, and she said at the press conference early on, hope to hear from her as well, that she's looking forward to defending her title. I'm interested to see how Mary Ikiru does, 15:35 at altitude in Nairobi for the 5,000 meters. She ran the FNB Joburg 10K city run. It was her first effort on the road, just over 34 minutes. And I think that was a pretty good effort for her first 10K on the road, and especially at that altitude. But yeah, the women's race really, really looking exciting.
Yeah, I think we're going to see some really fireworks perhaps in this win today. As you mentioned, Sheila Chepkurui, that 29:57 that she ran was actually her first race back after having a child. So that's amazing. And Durban is kind to her. Back in 2016, she won the African champs over 5,000 meters here in Durban, 15:05. So perhaps Durban is a city for winning. We're going to see some exciting racing today.
Well, I do absolutely think that the women's race this year is really going to be the race to watch and the race to follow. We got 4 athletes under 32 minutes in the women's race, one of them under 30, one of them under 31. The other 2 then under 32, and the other 30, and 4 athletes under 33 minutes for the women. That is phenomenal.
Yeah, really phenomenal. The only damper to fast times today will obviously be this wind. There's a long stretch when they run along Masabalala Yengwe Avenue, and that's going to be in their face. But once they make the turn onto the beachfront here, we're going to see some very fast kilometers. The other question, Manfred, is the FNB Durban 10K has been dominated in both years by the Ugandans. I think we're going to see a change this year with Sheila and Pauline both being from Kenya. Stella Chesang really wants to defend her title, but then in the men's race we've got Stephen Kisa, but a whole host of top Kenyan athletes as well.
We do, and of course Alfred Ngeno having won the Joburg FNB 10K city run. And yeah, so as you're quite right, the Kenyans should be making quite an impression.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, before we go into the men, a little about what's coming up with the men, we did have a chance to speak to the defending champion, Stella Chesang, and the world's fastest woman, Sheila Chepkurui, and here's what they had to say.
I have no pressure during the race. It will depend only with the weather, and if the body responds, it will be good for me. Looking forward for good results.
I want to run my best. Last year I ran my BB here in Durban, and people were not there. And this year people are there, the strong people are there, and I hope to break my time.
Well, South Africa's favourite athlete, Stephen Mokoka, was also at the press conference, having come back from an incredible run in Doha where he finished 5th in the marathon, and he is in an ambivalent mood.
It's different this time. Like I said earlier, I ran a marathon 2 weeks later, I ran a PV, so this is a 10 kilos, it's going to be faster. But you know, sometimes you have to test your body, so I hope the marathon didn't take too much from my body, but I'm just going to give it a try and see how it works out. So if I can be there, maybe the first 5Ks, I think I will do well.
Pleased with the Joburg run, you know, I actually surprised myself to get a position 3, you know. Definitely try to do the same, you know, to get a podium place and also try to go for a faster time. We've got a good stellar field of athletes here, you know, with Stephen Kisa of Uganda and also our own Stephen, you know. So definitely looking for a great...
Well, there you heard it from Stephen Mokoka and Elroy Galan, South Africa's leading contenders. We're going to go back to the start now. Musi Bodi, of course, setting the scene there for us.
For the FNB. Well, we were at the back of the pack for the 2019 FNB Durban 10 kilometer city surf run. Now we are at the sharp end of the field. Let's see what we can expect from some of these very, very top runners. And let's talk to some of them here. I'll greet these two young men, promising juniors who are doing well in South Africa. Kabelo, Tumisang, gentlemen, good morning, good morning, good morning.
You guys are going to start getting your warm-ups.
Two promising juniors who are now in the senior ranks, hoping to mix it up with some of the sharp end of the field. You see Elroy Galant and others. Bontate, likuta jang hale matale le top runner bo Elroy. Banna batswang bo Uganda and bo Kenya. How do you feel about racing these top runners today?
We feel motivated.
You feel motivated. Kabelo, how do you feel about this?
I feel like it's sharp because I didn't have anything. I can't matter the PV, so yeah, it's sharp. Ready for racing.
The ladies' race in particular is expected to be hot, hot, hot. We've got 5 runners who are 32 minutes and...
Alright, in 10 seconds we're going to have...
Let's get to some of the ladies here on the start line and greet them this morning. Just quickly, ladies, good luck. Are you looking forward to the race this morning?
Yes, I'm looking forward to run my PP here today.
And you were running in Johannesburg yesterday morning?
Yes, I was doing fun run yesterday. Yeah.
So you're ready to mix it up with these top runners next to you?
Yes, I want to chase them, yeah.
Okay, and that's it. Let's see what the start has in for us.
Let's go, Durban! Let's make that way! Well, they lead up.
Well, that's the warm-up. We've got 10 minutes to the start. So basically what happens now is that we have to move forward to the start at 5 minutes. The countdown, we then have an national anthem playing. We'll get underway. Here, and I saw Glenrose there smiling. She looks confident, very calm.
Yeah, you know, Glenrose is a really, really great athlete, and we saw her there standing at the start at Blue Lagoon. They'll make that right turn, the first and second kilometers and third kilometers along that very windy stretch of Masabalala Yengwe Avenue as they go past the famous Kingsmead Cricket Stadium through town in the center of Durban, through the City Hall, back onto the beachfront, and it's a long stretch to finish just in front of the Suncoast Casino and Entertainment World, where we are here for the 2019 FNB Durban 10 kilometer. A very fast route, Manfred, but the only deterring factor right now is the wind.
But I was having a good look at that route. It's over 1.5 kilometers behind us here, and if you're coming down and you fly, it's that 1.5 kilometers just doesn't work. It's almost the case of where is this finish line? I think a lot of the runners who are not chasing prize money, who are chasing their personal times, will be going, where's this finish line?
Definitely, and also when you hear the announcer shouting all the finish times, and you're like, where on earth is this finish? But yeah, it's a very, very fast finish, and if you remember last year, Joshua Cheptegei, he was clocking sub 240s coming down this promenade, so expect some big fireworks later today. There's a world-class field here, as you can see all the athletes there on the screen, and I'm excited for today. You know, brilliant organization, this FNB series, not just the Durban race. You know, there's also the event in Cape Town and Joburg, and the Cape Town and Durban events actually RAAF bronze label and going for gold next year. So Michael Mayer doing a fantastic job, not only bringing these world-class international athletes into the country, but our top South Africans getting a chance to run in a label event, get a bit of appearance money, and you know, make their name on the world stage too.
Indeed, and of course that label state is very important. As Kieran quite rightly says, it does give our South African athletes a chance to compete against some of the best in the world here on home. So now Elroy was saying, it's like we're running, you know, this is home turf. We've got home ground advantage. We've got to step up. We've got to start taking on the international contingent. And I do feel that in the last 3 years or so, 3 or 4 years, it's always been Stephen Elroy trying to carry the flag. We're now seeing other athletes coming through, and to a large extent because of this series, we've got somebody like Precious Mashena coming on. And Precious was quite open about his he wants to break 28 minutes.
Yeah, Precious in very good shape. Yeah, he's trained and mentored under Hendrik Romala, the great Hendrik Romala in South Africa. Multiple South African national titles to his name. Glenrose herself as well, you see her there in the middle of the screen, very, very short. They say dynamite comes in small packages. That's definitely the case with Glenrose. She actually trains together with Stephen Mokoka, the SA 10-kilometer national record holder, and Glenrose has had a phenomenal year. Besides 4 national titles from 10,000 meters, 10 kilometers cross country and the half marathon, our standout performance from Glenrose came in Buenos Aires in Argentina when she ran that 69-minute half marathon. That in itself is world-class on the international stage.
Well, only the third South African ever to break 70 minutes. She also clocked her personal best in the 10-kilometer, going to that 69:46 was the winning time. She ran 32:59, and that's also where Stephen Mokoka. It's also where Stephen Mokoka ran his best half marathon.
Yeah, definitely. Stephen Mokoka smashing that record 59:50, becoming the first South African to break an hour on the half marathon distance over a non-aided course. Remember, Hendrik Romala has gone quicker, but that was on the aided Lisbon course, so it doesn't count for record statistics. But yeah, Stephen in the shape of his life. He just recently ran the World Championships in the marathon in Doha, coming 5th there. So today is going to be a bit of an uptake on speed.
Well, we're going to go to the start line very quickly now, where Mosibodi is with the world leader, Sheila Chepkorea.
How was the weather this morning? You spoke about the weather. How are you feeling about the weather?
The weather is good.
Good for running.
Yes, good for running.
Okay. She says she's tense and she's ready to race. Good luck. Good luck, Sheila.
Thank you.
Good luck. Ready to race?
Well, Sheila Chepkorea ready to race, Kieran, you've heard it. So obviously looking for something special.
Yeah, she said that the wind and the weather is good for racing, and it's not going to phase her. So perhaps, you know, the pace that she's running, there will be a good couple, I would say, elite men around her. So perhaps they can block the wind for her, and she's still going to go for a fast time.
Yeah. Well, I've said it before, I'm going to say it again. I think the women's race is going to be, it's probably the best ever field we've ever seen in South Africa. And it seems like the wind is beginning to die down here on the finish line. So promising times.
Yeah, the wind, we're not really feeling it that much right now. And if you remember back in former races in 2017, it was just as windy as this. And Joshua Cheptegei and, you know, his fellow athletes ran a fast time that day. So let's see what will happen.
Well, you heard that Joshua Cheptegei running the all-comers record here. The athletes now getting ready on the start line. And we're about 4 minutes away from the start of the 2019 FNB Durban 10-kilometer Citysurfrun. What's going to happen in the next couple of minutes? We'll play the national anthem. And the runners will start with the whistle. There won't be a gun. It's going to be a whistle as the marshals there and officials clearing the road. And you can see on the right-hand side is where the women are lining up, and the men will line up on the left. And it's a who's who of South African and international road running. Adam Lipschitz in there, a local here, Durban Q, and a friend of yours, and really looking in good shape as well. I reckon he should be breaking 29 minutes too.
Yeah, I think today is the day to do it. He ran 29:12 in the recent Cape Town 10 kilometer, and you know he's quite outspoken and vocal on Twitter. He's got his hashtag there, Social Runners Club. He doesn't see himself as an elite athlete, but I can guarantee you when you are hovering around sub 29 minutes, you are definitely in the elite ranking.
Well, Adam Lipschitz, good luck to him. And we're going to be keeping a very close eye, and we haven't spoken much about him, Uganda's Stephen Kisa. He's hiding there in the men's pack. I see Alfred Ngeno in there. I see Aroy Galant in there. Stephen Makoka is also hiding there. Precious Mashela there on the left at the start here in Blue Lagoon. Yvette van Zyl there, very prominent on the right amongst the women. Stella Chisang in the orange and white of NN Running, the defending champion. And right on the right-hand side there, that is Sheila Chepkorea. That is who you're going to be looking out for. The Kenyan, who is the fastest in the world this year. 29:57. It's absolutely mind-boggling. Imagine doing 10 kilometers in literally just under 3 minutes a kilometer. Absolutely flying. The media on the start line getting ready to capture the start, and huge excitement down there on the start. You heard it from Mosibodi. You saw how he was interacting with people, and there'll be some serious butterflies going on right now, Kieran.
Yeah, definitely close to 10,000 athletes lined up today for the FNB Durban 10 kilometer. Fantastic, the whole of Durban coming together for this short distance event. You know, there's not too many 10 kilometers on offer down in Durban, so you know, when the Durbanites do get a chance to run a quick 10 kilometer, they take it with all hands.
It's also really, really good to see how Durban has embraced this race. Started off with about 7,000 athletes and is now it's just over 9,000 runners. And that's a really good sign. The entire series is over 40,000 runners. There's definitely a resurgence here in road running from a social point of view. I love the fact that this series brings the best of the world to rub shoulders with those of us who just really want to go out and have a run.
Yeah, definitely. You know, that's the beauty of running as a sport. You know, you can be in Moses Mabhida Soccer Stadium and watching, you know, your favorite Cristiano Ronaldo or the likes playing soccer, but you can't actually play soccer with them. Whereas in running, you've got athletes like Joshua Cheptegei, Sheila Chepkorea, who's lining up here today. You can stand right next to on the start line if you're one of the elites, but where else can you actually enjoy a course, run with the world's best? Running brings everyone together, and we're seeing a resurgence of it, especially, I won't mention what happened yesterday, but you know what I'm talking about.
We have to mention what happened yesterday. We saw some absolute history in the making as we are getting ready for the start. By my watch, I've got 20 seconds to get to the start. And that's what you're looking at. The best field ever assembled in South Africa for a women's race. A deep men's race, which will possibly, without the likes of a Joshua Cheptegei there, seeing the likes of maybe a more competitive men's race. We've always had Joshua Cheptegei dominating, with Julian Wonders trying to set the pace almost for him, and he certainly benefited from that. But here we go. Off they go. The elite men's have started off, and remember, they will start before the rest of the field. And this mass of athletes, elite athletes, heading off down towards the old NMR Avenue.
Yeah, the start there on Athlone Drive, just next to the famous Blue Lagoon down here in Durban, and they're going to be making that right turn now, and then it's onto the long straight of Masabalala Yangwe Avenue down here in Durban, the old NMR Avenue as it was formerly known. And you know, it was interesting that you mentioned there Julian Wonders, Manfred. The fact that Julian Wonders was in the race the past 2 years, he's a very aggressive athlete. He likes to push the pace, and without him here today, I think the men's race is going to become tactical. They're not after quick times. Perhaps in the women's race they'll be looking at faster times, but you can already see there, as the big bunch has formed, the athlete on the far left of the picture, actually a veteran with that 40 on his category tag there, Simpiwe Zulu, a local athlete here from KZN. And he is mixing it up with some of the best athletes here, and you can tell from this early stage that the pace is not as quick as it was last year. But you know, records are there to be broken all the time, but the titles are for whatever stays, and that's what the guys are going to be going for today.
Well, a big bunch of leading contenders here. Kieran quite correctly saying it's already a bit more tactical than we've seen. You can actually see them slow down. That fast start is always the case in a road race. It is frenetic and then they settle in. But round about this point in time is where we already had a group driven by Julian Wonders, who started to break away. That included Stephen McCorker. It included Elroy Galant. Elroy Galant very prominent in there. And Elroy is very, very excited. He's 3 weeks after his marathon, where he ran a 2:10 in Cape Town. And he's targeting a sub 28. I don't think we're going to see a sub 28 today. But I do think this is going to be the most competitive men's race we've ever seen.
Yes, definitely, Manfred. I don't think we're going to see that sub 28 today, as we see Simpiwe Zulu still in the lead there with a whole host of athletes behind him, world-class athletes for that case. But yeah, you know, the pace today is a little bit irrelevant in this weather, with Elroy Galant also coming off that marathon. But we see the elite women there, and Taudu Nare in the colors of Nedbank Ethiopia. She's well known now on the South African circuit, finishing second overall in the Spa Grand Prix series. But right in front there is Evelyn Churcher, the NN running team athlete. Just behind her, Sheila Chepkarui, and a whole host of athletes. And Manfred, complete contrast to the men's race. These women have gone out hard.
Indeed. Evelyn Churchill, of course, a sub 31. She's a sub 31 at 30 minutes and 43 seconds. She ran that in Tilburg, not in Tilburg, I beg your pardon. She ran that earlier this year. And already you can see, you actually cannot see Stella Chasang in the picture, the defending champion. She started a little bit more conservatively, and I don't know if that's because this is Sheila and Evelyn really, really driving this pace right from the gun, and Stella is hanging back a bit, or this pace is too fast for her.
Yeah, you must remember that with Evelyn, the NN athlete there, she ran a 66-minute half marathon not so long ago, in September in Copenhagen, and in conditions that were actually probably a little bit worse than this, Manfred. It was very, very windy. We did see a world record set that day in the men's race, but Evelyn is used to running in these conditions, and you can see compared to the men's race, they're really driving this pace. A lot of these, the male athletes around her is really struggling to keep up at this stage, and it'll be interesting to see split times. I know we've got some mats along the way. I think it's 3K, 5K and 9K, if I'm not mistaken, along the route. So it'll be very interesting to see the first 3 kilometer split, just to get a bit of an indication of the projected finish time. But on the left of the side of the screen there, Manfred, the men now, the time for TV time, as I say, for some of the TV runners is over now, and it's
Real
the Ugandans and the
started.
Kenyans who say, we've come here to run fast, and this is not a holiday. We're here for business.
That looks like Stephen Kieser on the front end of that men's pack. Elroy Galant sitting very pretty in there. I think I see Alfred Ngeno there as well. Alfred Ngeno, of course, having won the FNB Joburg 10K City Run. And this is the rest of the field as they get away from the start. Almost 9,000 athletes, runners, looking for their own times, their own goals, their own ambitions, and a lot of vibe out on the routes as well. So it's definitely, this road running has definitely changed in that people are now having a lot more fun. It's a lot less serious in the back end. It's very, very serious on the front end here. In the men's race, Stephen Kieser driving that men's bunch. He's not afraid to take the lead, Kieran. He did say at the press conference he doesn't mind being the favourite. He's got the fastest time in the field, 27:13. It's a Ugandan record which he set in Laredo, Texas in March this year. Not scared to drive the pace, which is quite promising.
Yeah, definitely, Manfred, and he's got quite a similar style to Joshua Cheptegei, the last two winners here in the FNB Durban 10K. And the interesting athlete that I'm going to look out for here is the one just behind him, William Sitonic. He only has a 28:32 10K best on the road, as they see the 2 kilometer mark there, 5:51. So the pace not that fast, but I think it will get a lot faster. But going back to Sitonic, the result that stands out for me is the 26:54 10,000 meter. He ran that, granted, it was back in 2016 in the Prefontaine Classic, but the athlete that he made run right to the line was Mo Farah, who was undefeated over 10,000 meter for numerous years, double Olympic champion, and he's here today. As we see the current men's record there, Joshua Cheptegei, that 27:16 coming from last year's event, not here in the field today, but a whole host of world-class athletes coming to replace him.
Yeah, indeed, and you said Kieran not so fast for the first 2 kilometers. That's quite correct. There's your prize money again, 30,000 Rand for the first athletes across the line. And Stephen Kieser doing a great job there of driving the pace. They are beginning to string out. So, as you said, the first 2 kilometers not that fast. They are going to start picking up the pace. Stephen Mokoka's hiding in that pack. And a very, very wily athlete. So William Satonic, as you mentioned, also a really, really exciting athlete there, and sitting behind Stephen Kieser. And I wonder if this is a good idea for Stephen Kieser to be driving this pack so early on. He's doing all the work. They're sitting behind him.
Yeah, he's really doing the work. I think it's probably not the wisest choice. We have seen him do it here in the past down in Durban, where he's done it with Joshua Cheptegei. But you know, when the pace is slow like this, granted the weather is quite windy here down in Durban, but this plays into the hands of athletes like Ulrich Galant and Stephen Mokoka. Granted, they are coming just off a marathon, so their legs won't have that much zip in it. But Ulrich Galant, 13:05, a 5,000 meter SA record holder. Stephen Mokoka himself, a former SA 1500 meter champion. He's got a whole host of SA titles from 1500 meters all the way up through to the marathon. And when it comes down to a sprint finish, you can't discount athletes like that. Even though Ulrich, as I mentioned, was coming off that marathon, he finished third in the recent FNB Joburg 10 kilometer, where he himself said that he was surprised. So in the shape of his life, and the slower the pace, the better for these guys, especially when it comes down to a sprint finish.
Well, they're bunching up again, so Stephen Kieser did throw in a surge and stretch them out a bit. And now back to the woman. And Evelyn Schitcher now handing over the lead to, that looks like Beatrice Mutai out in the front. And also a pretty strong contender as Beatrice Mutai, with Taranari having a fantastic run. Stella Chisang still not quite in the picture there. I wonder if she isn't just trying to get back. She, of course, is the course record holder. It was the all-comers record until Hilaria Johannes broke that earlier this year. 30:59. Hilaria Johannes not in this field, but certainly Sheila sitting there quite pretty. I see Evelyn Churcher now coming back to the front again. Quite clearly, these women have decided it's time to take this race by the scruff of the neck.
And the issue for Stella Chisang now, well, it's that she will be in no man's land, so to speak, with these athletes, Evelyn and Sheila and Taudu, and so they've got men around her, so a little bit of breaking of the wind, so to speak, but Chisang will be on her own. But it's going to be very interesting to see as they go towards the 5 kilometer mark what the split time, and at this stage I'm very impressed with the Nedbank Running Club athletes. Nare, you know, she's been racing a whole host of races this year, won the SA half marathon title. It was her debut, running just over 70 minutes there. But in the recent Spa Ladies Race final, which was only last week, she only managed a 4th place there. So we are granted only 10 minutes into the event, but so far she's looking really good, hanging with these world-class athletes like Chep Kurui and Chocho.
Well, we saw a long shot going back down the road, and I saw no sign of the defending champion, which is ominous indeed. She didn't have the best of world championships, so she wasn't that happy with that result. And yeah, look, the front ladies, of course, Evelyn Church driving that with Beatrice Mutai. Taranari is saying really good. This has definitely turned into a tactical affair. It's bunched. Everybody is watching each other. And Stephen Mokoka just sitting in there, loping along as he always done. Alre on the left-hand side, also looking very comfortable. Stephen Kieser has decided, I'm not going to be the pacemaker, and is sitting in the bunch. Although, as I say that, he starts to come to the front. And it looks like, is that Alfred Ngena on the front there? No, it's not.
No, I think Alfred was running in the colours of the Nedbank Running Club, as he did when he won the FNB Joburg 10K. But Manfred, this is quite a weird sight to see. There's a bunch of over 30 guys together in the FNB Durban 10K, and it's not like we've seen over the previous 2 years. We've always seen maybe 4 guys, 5 guys at most, and besides the women who are really gunning for a fast time today, the men have just said, no, this wind is too much, let's just make it tactical. But I can guarantee you, once they go through town, through the city hall towards 7-8 kilometers mark, and they make that left turn back onto the beachfront, we are going to see some really fast running, as we have seen previously, and that's when the racing will get underway in the men's race.
Well, we saw a last kilometer of 2:40 by the great Eliud Kipchoge yesterday when he broke that 2 hours. Will we see a 2:40 in the last kilometre here in the men's race? We'll have to wait and see. Beatrice Mutai on the ladies' race certainly driving that. And looks like Tadunara has dropped off there, Kieran.
Yeah, we can't see Nauru in that pack, so perhaps the early pace there was a bit too much for her. Beatrice Mutai really pushing the pace together there with Chip Kurui and Churcher. And Churcher, as I mentioned earlier, used to running in these very windy conditions. That 66-minute half marathon in Copenhagen not so long ago. As we see an overhead shot there of the men's race, probably around 15 to 20 athletes there, and they're making their way past the Kingsmead Cricket Stadium, so towards the 5-kilometre mark. Not expecting any fast times here in the men's race, but so far that pack sitting together, and expect some fireworks soon once they go through the centre of town.
Well, a big bunch for the men, as Kieran quite rightly says, going past the Kings Park sporting ground, if you would. And the women's race looking a lot different. 3 athletes now. Tadunara having dropped off the pace. Was surprised to see her, Kieran, to be that far up front with the women, because they were certainly, by the looks of it, moving quite fast. And having dropped off right now. She is a 32.26 at best, 32.36 at best. You're dealing with athletes who are sub 31, even sub 30. It's a different ballgame.
Yeah, definitely. I think the women, it would be hard to indicate just by pace, but they're not that far behind the men. As we saw that overhead shot where the men were running, the women have just gone past that, and together with Ben Delaporte, the triathlete at the back of the ladies pack there, himself a 30-minute 10k runner, so they're running really good. But the interesting thing that I'm seeing, Manfred, on the left-hand side there in the leading men's race is the local athlete from the Pantane Running Club, which actually was crowned as Team of the Year in the KZN Sports Awards last night. That's Mbuleli Matanga, coached by Mdu Kumalo, local coach here in Durban. And he's coming fresh off a 28:12 10-kilometer in Prague, which coincidentally is the same race where Sheila Chepkuri ran that 29:57. He is a host of talent, really someone to look out for in the future. And actually in that race went through the 5k mark in 13:30 on the road. Out of this world.
Well, he is certainly a talent, and now joining us in commentary was the man on the start line, and he has been following this youngster from KZN quite substantially too. Musiburi, welcome here in the commentary box. Was it fun out there in the start?
Thanks, Manfred. Thanks, Kieran. Yeah, it was fun. Lots and lots of runners actually still making their way towards the start at the back end of the field, but it was at the sharp end where things were quite tense. They spoke about before the race, but also they felt that the wind was perhaps a little less strong than they had expected. Sheila Chepkarui spoke about that, saying that the weather is actually not too bad, and if it plays ball, then she's hoping to run a good time.
Well, the men's now beginning to thin out a little bit, Kieran, and not such a big group as we saw early on, and it just looks like a lot of the guys are throwing in a couple of surges just to test the water. Stephen Kieser has decided to drop back 14:21 through the first 5Ks, and as you mentioned, Buleli Mtanga really looking quite prominently. Elroy Galant, Kevin Kibet, so all the big guns all packed together.
Yeah, it was actually quite a surprise, that 14:21 there through 5k. If you remember earlier in the race, they only went through the 2-kilometer mark in 5:51, so they've definitely picked it up. And I think as they move now towards the centre of town, running past the Durban City Hall, they'll be sheltered a bit by that wind. And as they make that turn back onto the beachfront, technically the wind should be behind them, but being a local here from KZN, living just up the road here in Durban, I've always found that when I run on the beachfront, the wind will be blowing gales into my face, and when I turn around to come back, it's blowing gales into my face again, so I don't quite understand it. Hopefully it's not going to be the case for these guys today.
Well, Stephen Kieser on the front end again, with next to him Ruben Mossop, and Stephen McCorker now coming through to the fore. Morsi, what do you reckon? He did say at the press conference, 5 kilometers, if he's fresh, he's going to see how he's going to might even then try and make a bit of a surge.
Yeah, and he also spoke about the importance of being fairly conservative through that 5-kilometer mark and not doing something perhaps foolish, like going through in well under 14 minutes in a 13:30. So a 14:20 I think will suit Stephen, given that he's just come from the World Championships. He feels like if he can hang on for as long as possible, given his 1500 meter finishing speed, he can be there and thereabout when the kick comes towards the end of the race. So he'll be happy about the way it's unfolding right now.
Well, Stephen, of course, won that 1500 meter title that Kuhn mentioned here in Durban a good few years ago. He did say to me, though, that towards the end of last year, beginning of this year, because he's shifted to the marathon, he has lost that kick. It's no longer there. So he has to work quite hard in this race as well if he's hoping to make a statement.
Yeah, and is that the hard-running Sibusiso Nzima we see there in front, recently married?
Yeah, so the recently married Sibusiso Nzima, he got married to his fellow clubmate, Rutendo Inyahora, the Zimbabwean national who's actually in the field today as well, having recently just run the Doha World Championships. But the leading women through 5K, and as we mentioned, Manfred, complete contrast to the men's race. They're really gunning for a fast time, 15:26 by the 29:57 10K woman Sheila Chepkurui, with Beatrice Muchai, Evelyn Churcho with them as well. And Taudu Nare, as you mentioned there, Manfred, going through 3Ks together has now dropped off 27 seconds. So Stella Chesang, the defending champion, Commonwealth Games champion over 10,000 meters, not having a great run today in 8th. And Gerda Steyn, wow, 9th position, 1 minute behind. Expect to see her coming through and picking up some of the fast starters.
Well, Gerda Steyn would dearly love to break 33 minutes here, and conditions allowing, she probably would. And she's often said that she doesn't quite know how to run the shorter races. She only warms up a little bit later, but Gerda's going to have to start running a lot harder from the front. The men's are certainly, it's almost a cat and mouse scenario for me. Sibusiso Nzima there on the left-hand side seems to be becoming the bus driver here.
Indeed he does, indeed he does. And speaking to him yesterday in the hotel room as all the athletes arrived for the 2019 FNB Durban 10-kilometer Citysurfrun, he felt that he's in pretty good form, and he'll mix it in with the rest, and perhaps a little bit unhappy slightly that he's not counted as one of the main contenders for this race. So perhaps he's got something to prove, does Sibusiso Nzima, and let's see how long he can hold on in this lead bunch.
Well, he has been battling with injury for a few years. He does coach himself, and I wonder if that maybe is not the best of ideas, and maybe he should start looking at a coach. Not necessarily to tell him what to do, but just to keep an eye on the shape and say maybe ease back or maybe pick up a little bit. But Sibusiso Nzima is a class athlete. Stephen Mokoka is sitting very pretty there. Stephen Kisa, the two Stephens, also looking very, very prominent on the front. And it is beginning to shape up now to the sharp end of the race. And Ewan, as you mentioned earlier, they are going to pick up as we go back to the lead. And does it look like, well, Sheila is certainly allowing Evelina to do all the work.
Yeah, Evelyn is literally the unofficial pacemaker in the women's race, but I wouldn't call her a pacemaker with times of 30 minutes over 10Ks and 66 minutes over the half marathon. A very, very strong in running athlete, but she's got company with her. You know, it's going to be an exciting race. I think definitely these are the three women that will be on the podium. But the question remains, which one will get here first?
Yeah, well, Beatrice Muta, of course, her best is a 31, which she ran a couple of years ago. Certainly not scared to take it on with the two ladies who've gone faster than 31. Mosibudi, what do you think?
Yeah, she spoke about it, especially at the pre-race press conference. Did Beatrice Muta, speaking about the fact that run of 31:47 at the Commonwealth Games on the track gave her an immense amount of confidence, even though she finished outside the medals in 4th place. She believes that after that, it was the kind of psychological breakthrough she needed. And now, as you say, she's not afraid to go with the early pace as they get onto that Puma 100-meter sprint.
That's the man. We're going to see Mosibori on that 100-meter sprint later. He's going to test his skill. 17 seconds is the bet. And the men's race has certainly whittled down quite a bit. The guys are beginning to string out. They are beginning to up the tempo.
Yeah, I'm quite interested to see what their split was for that Puma 100-meter sprint, just to see if Musibodi can run faster when he does it later on fresh legs.
Accepted? No chance, no chance.
But yeah, they've made their way through that Puma 100-meter sprint, and having said that, there was a bit of a sprint there by the athletes in the pack. Sibusiso Nzima, who's actually very fond of Durban, so to speak. He's won the Durban City Marathon here the last 2 years, but 2028 was that split there at 7.2 Ks by none other than the Kenyan athlete Alfred Ngeno, in very, very good shape. He's run a 60-minute half marathon this year, already in the Berlin half, and he is the champion from the FNB Joburg 10 kilometer. But Elroy Galant, Bernard B, the Kenyan, Kevin Kibet, a whole host of Kenyans together with Stephen Kisa, the lone Ugandan at this stage. But you can see definitely that pack has split up. And as the women will be coming through the Puma 100 meter not too long from now, they're running a pace of under 31 minutes for 10 kilometers. It'll be interesting to see if it is still the three that are together.
Well, Bernard B having a really, really good run. He showed some huge potential last year in PE at the half marathon and has seemed to fade a little bit. Here we go. Leading ladies on the Puma 100 meter sprint. And it does look like Sheila Chepkorea is starting to exert her dominance here.
Yeah, she looks very comfortable. And in fact, she looks very self-assured. Just speaking to her before the race, she didn't want to talk much, as you can expect minutes before a big race. She said she was tense. That was very important. She said she was tense as there looks to be maybe a slight break coming around the corner. Said she was tense, but she's looking forward to a good performance, and she does seem to be now ready to go as she starts to hit the front after the 7-kilometer mark of the FNB 10-kilometer Citysurfrun.
Yeah, she does seem to be setting the pace here, Kuhn. It looked to me on the face of Evelyn, there was like a little bit of a grimace. Beatrice Mutai looked a bit better. Back to the men, 8 kilometers here, 23:08.
Yeah, 23:06 or 07 or so there through the 8-kilometer mark, as the bike tries to navigate the very, very fast pace of these athletes. And we saw Precious Mashele there in the colors of NN Running Team. That's his international sponsor, himself SA 10K champion. You see him now to the front of the race, and he's really, really picking up. And as I mentioned, Manfred, once they turn onto this Durban beachfront, that's where the fireworks are going to come through. And it's Precious Mashele together with Stephen Mokoka, the SA record holder over 10 kilometers, that 27:38. We won't be seeing a time of that today, but they have now taken the challenge up to the Kenyans and Ugandans, and they are saying, come on guys, this may be an RWF bronze label race, but this is our country. We want the victory.
I absolutely love how Mokoka and Precious Mashele have decided to take on the foreign contingent. Here we go. Sheila Chepkorea has definitely taken charge of this race. I do believe that Evelyn Church is starting to look laboured. Beatrice Mutai still does look comfortable, Musibodi, but Sheila Chepkorea definitely has taken the race by the scruff of the neck here.
Yeah, look at that stride. Very assured. She's bouncing and she's lengthening that stride slightly as she hits the front. And as we take the aerial shots of the men's race, those two, Precious and Stephen Mokoka, hit the front. Stephen spoke about going to Zoo Lake, the Zoo Lake group where Precious Mashele trains, and spending some time talking to him and his coach, Hendrik Ramala. So it looks like, even though they don't train together, they have a good understanding as they hit the front together.
Well, this looks like Stephen Mokoka means business. He was very softly spoken, if you would, about his chances at the press conference, but he means business. This is a definitive break here. Precious Mashele maybe have gone too earlier. Mokoki is a wily contender. He's extremely experienced, and they have spread out on the Durban beachfront. I'm willing to put some money on that Mokoka is actually going to come and win his first race in South Africa in how many years?
Yeah,
over 10Ks?
Yeah,
a long time.
Mokoka is definitely in form. Coming off that 5th place in the Doha World Championships Marathon, where he was actually very disappointed with that performance, but they're not that far from the finish, Manfred. He's making his way towards the Pirates Life Saving Club and Suncoast Casino and Entertainment World, where we are here. And this is definitely the break of the race. Stephen Mokoka, the SA record holder over 10 kilometers, he is now, there you see, 9 kilometers, 25:44, that split there. So we could definitely going to be seeing a time of under 29 minutes today, Manfred. But as I mentioned earlier, times are pretty irrelevant. It's the victories that count, and it's going to be very hard, Manfred, for one of those athletes now to catch Stephen Mokoka. I think that definitely was a break of the race, as we see the lead woman, Evelyn Churcher, together with Sheila Chepkirui. And this is also going to be coming down to a sprint finish. Obviously, Chepkirui, they're 29.57 over 10 kilometer, but you can see there, Manfred, Stephen Mokoka is motoring down this finish straight. He's not that far from the race. I would say perhaps 600 meters to go, but just behind him is that either Alfred Ngeno or Kevin Kibet, the Kenyan athlete, trying to make a break and close that gap, Manfred. But this is going to be down to a sprint finish. I think Stephen Mokoka's got this. I'm not so much of a betting man, but as he makes himself past that Pirates Life Saving Club, he is going to take victory in the 2019 FNB Durban City 10 kilometer.
Photographers are coming in. Now it's time to turn it off and to receive our runners, and the first runners are visible. They are coming, and now they can see the finish line. And you can...
It's by the scruff of the neck. Stephen Mokoka has broken away. Precious Michelle did go a little bit earlier. That is Stephen Kieser in there as well. But Mokoka looking very, very strong. I doubt he made the move too early. Certainly the crowd in the back here getting very, very excited. But his facial expression speaks a lot. He is determined. He wants this race.
Yeah, I think if there's anyone that wants this victory more than anyone in this race, it would be Stephen Mokoka. And I think he is going to take the title. We've got Kibet and, you know, the other Ugandan athlete coming through just behind him. And this is going to come down to a sprint. But I think Stephen is going to have the edge. He's really, really surprised me coming off that marathon here to run the FNB Durban 10K. That marathon definitely still in his legs. But it's going to be Stephen Mokoka, the SA record holder of over 10 kilometers, who's going to take victory here today, Manfred. This is an amazing run by the versatile athlete. Numerous national titles from 1500 meters all the way through to the marathon. And he's surprising the 10 kilometer specialist here today to take this victory.
Well, Stephen Mokoka is your 2019 FNB Durban 10 kilometer Citysurfrun champion. 28:09, 28:10, 28:11, 28:12 his time. Stephen Kieser coming in second, and it looks like in third there was a
Kevin Kibet.
Kevin Kibet coming in third, but a South African victory finally.
And the Ugandan stranglehold of the FNB Durban 10K has been broken, as we see Precious Mashele there coming in the fourth place, and Matanga coming through for sixth, local athlete here from KZN. I really like that there's a lot of South Africans in the top 10, but the women's race, it's Chepkirui, it's Evelyn Churcher, and the other Kenyan athlete just behind her,
Beatrice Mutai.
Yeah, Beatrice Mutai, who's really done a lot of the pacemaking, but I think it's going to be down to Churcher and Chepkirui. Chepkirui herself, a former African Games champion over 5,000 meters here in Durban, literally across the road from where we are based here at the finish line. But that statistic that stands out, the 29:57 10 kilometer, her first race back since having a child, Manfred. This is only her second race back since having that child of hers, and this is amazing running. I think we're looking at a future world record holder here in the 10 kilometer in the form of Sheila Chepkirui.
Well, the clock 29:26. How fast can she go? I don't think she's going to break 30 minutes, but a sub 31 could very well be on the cards. I do think we're going to have a very, very tight finish. Evelyn Churcher may have gone through a bad patch, but she certainly doesn't look like she's giving up at this point. I think Beatrice Mutai is starting to fade a bit as the leading ladies vanish amongst the men there, but Sheila Chepkirui, as you mentioned, 29:57 is still the fastest time, and I do think that confidence that she got in that race has to play a big role.
Yes, definitely. 29:57, the fastest time in the world this year, and I think it will remain the fastest time for this year. They're not going to break 30 minutes today, but they are definitely going to go under 31, I would say. And just as you saw in the men's race, they went through 14:21 through the 5K, came back in 28:02 for the finish. So it was a very much faster second half, and this is definitely the case here. As we see, Chepkirui, Manfred, has got that break. This is the winning move of the race.
Well, Chepkirui certainly has broken that stranglehold. I thought for a second that Beatrice Mutai was lagging off. She is working very hard. She's going to try and catch that second spot, but Sheila Chepkirui is definitely broken away here. 30, 39, 30, 40 right now the clock. A sub 31 could potentially be on the card. We could see another course record here and a Kenyan coming through. Here we go, 30.53 for Sheila Chepkorea. Just behind her, Evelyn Churcher and Beatrice Mutai. Also, maybe just sneaking under 31 minutes. A superbly fast finish.
Manfred, that was a race for the ages here. New course record by Sheila Chepkorea, as we see Michael Mayer from Stillwater Athletics welcoming her through there. But not only, Manfred, have we seen a new course record in the FNB Durban City 10 kilometer, but the fastest time ever run in South African soil. It did belong to Helalia Johannes, the Namibian athlete who ran 30.59 in the Spa Ladies 10 kilometer, coincidentally also in Durban not so long ago. But Sheila Chepkorea ran the fastest 10 kilometer ever in South Africa, and a phenomenal run by the newly formed mum, to say.
Well, foreign domination in the women's race, local domination almost in the South African race, in the men's race, with Stephen Mokoka coming through for that victory in the men's race. And it looks as if Stephen Mokoka is getting ready for an interview there with Mosibori Whitehead. We'll cross down to that right now. I'll be really interested to see what he has to say, finally breaking his duck, if you would, in the men's in the 10 kilometer in South Africa. Tadu Nari now coming through. She's being chased by Glenrose Garba. I see in the back there Stella Chasang trying to make a move. Glenrose is not going to catch Tadu, and I think the South Africans here were left a little bit out in the loop here against the internationals.
Yeah, we saw a complete difference in the men's race as the South Africans took the title there. But, you know, for the women's race, 32.33, really quick time there by the Nedbank Running Club athlete Tadu Naru, a well-known athlete here in KZN and South Africa especially. She bases herself in Johannesburg, and Glenrose Kaba will be coming just behind her. And if I'm not mistaken, Manfred, that's a PB as well for Glenrose Kaba. Very, very good performance there by the athlete in the colours of Boxer Running Club, with Stella Chasang, the defending champion, having a not so good day in the office, but still a sub 33 minute 10k. Brilliant effort.
Well, Stella Chasang will be disappointed. Glenrose can be ecstatic. That is a massive PB. 32.59 is what it was coming in, and now it's even faster. It looked like she had taken maybe 14 seconds, and here comes Gerda Steyn, 33.21. Well, that is faster than last year, but and she does look like she's had a hard run. Certainly, this was real racing, I think, for Gerda over a 10k for the first time in a long time.
Yeah, 33.21, a brilliant performance there by Gerda Steyn, who's training for the upcoming New York City Marathon. As we see Yvette van Zyl in the colours of Nedbank Running Club coming through. She'll be a bit disappointed from last year's run where she ran at 32.06, but still coming back from that operation. Brilliant performance by Yvette.
Well, on the finish line now, Mosibori has the two champions, Stephen Mokoka and Sheila Chepkorea. And Mosibori will be chatting to our two winners there on the finish line. Down there to Mosibori.
We're down here at the finish of the FNB Durban 10 kilometer city surf run with the champion, the first ever South African to win the Durban edition of the FNB Run Your City series. Stephen, how was the race?
I mean, it's tough. My legs are not okay yet. I think I'm still feeling the marathon, but I can say I survived because we went like through 5K, 14:27. So it was a little bit comfortable, but because the second half we went 13, it became uncomfortable. It shows that the marathon is still in my legs. But I'm happy about the victory. But not the victory on its own, but I ran my first fastest South African time in the home soil, 28:12. So I'm happy, I'm improving. I started with 28:20, now 18 last year, now I broke 6 seconds. So I'm very happy. It shows that I'm progressing.
Yeah. And the race unfolded exactly as you spoke about it. You said, if we don't go too fast, not too far under 14 minutes by 5Ks, then I can stick to them and see what happens. And 14:20 through 5Ks gave you a chance and you used your kick. You've still got that kick even after years of running the marathon.
I think it was just the pace change. It's not a kick as such. the first half we didn't go fast, so the second half, that's why I normally push when I run, because you win the race in the second half. That's why you have to go negative split. So I think we ran like a 13:55 or 13:52, I think. So I think that's why I survived. So I'm very happy because I didn't run too much, only the 5K. I think I ran only the 5K, the last 5 kilometers.
And then that nickname, Tepi, it looks like it's coming true now because you run a marathon, a week later you win the FNB Durban 10K run. It shows that you're a man of steel, that even a week after the marathon you're still able to do well.
I think my coach always says after a marathon you get stronger, but only for 1 week or 2 weeks. He normally says the first 2 weeks you think you are strong, but after 3 weeks everything comes into the body. I mean, if you've got torn tissues or torn muscles, they will report after 3 weeks. So I think maybe for now I'm still okay, but I don't know what will happen in the next 3 weeks. So the only thing I have to do, I'm just take a rest and relax.
So this is the end of your season. Lastly, Stephen, family time now?
Yeah, I miss my home, to sit at home and relax. You know, it's time for me to wake up next to my family, not when they wake up they find me I'm not in the house. So I think I'm just going to take a rest and relax a little bit and build up for next year.
Congratulations, well done on winning the 2019 FNB Durban 10-kilometer Citysurfrun.
Thank you.
Stephen Mokoka, the men's champion, and let's hear from the ladies' champion. She spoke earlier on before the start of the race, Sheila Chepkerui of Kenya, that she was feeling a little bit tense. She was worried about the weather. Firstly, congratulations. Well done. How do you feel about your race today?
I'm very happy for today's performance.
And how do you feel about the time? Because this time is a new course record and an all-comers record for foreigners running in South Africa. So how do you feel about the excellent time that you've been able to run here this morning?
I'm really excited for the time which I have run today because this was my first time doing road race in South Africa. And I'm really happy with the performance.
So you'll be back in South Africa again, eh?
Yes.
She says with a smile on her face. Lastly, we saw in the bunch, Beatrice, they were almost acting like pacemakers for you. You were hanging back. On Thursday in the press conference, on Friday in the press conference, you said that you will watch them. Is that what happened?
Yes.
You didn't let them, you didn't go so they can watch you. You waited a little bit.
I'm not a front runner always, so I usually stay at the back.
Okay, so what's left for you? Any more races in 2019?
No.
That's it?
Yes.
So a wonderful way to end your season, winning a race in an excellent time.
Thank you.
Well done, Sheila Chepkerui. I love it, and she says she'll be back in South Africa soon. We'll have more from the finish line of the FNB 10-kilometer Citysurfrun. We've got Glenrose Xaba, the first South African lady. Glenrose, uzizwa kanjani njengoba uphume first South African? Benjani race namhlanje?
I can say that I'm very happy about the race of today, even though it was windy when we go through. But I'm very happy to run a PB. It's something special for me.
Exactly, and you're in great form because recently in Argentina, you ran a PB over the half marathon distance. Now again a PB over 10 kilometers. It means things have been going well for you in the last few months.
Yeah, I'm very happy because it was so very tough for me at the beginning of the year. I was facing with many injuries, but now I'm very healed proper. I need to just focus and doing good.
And then what's left for you in 2019?
2019, I think it was a great year for me. Even the beginning of the year was not a good year for me.
So that's it, your season is finished now?
No, my season is not finished yet. I'm going for Lisbon marathon if my visa came early.
Oh, lovely, the Lisbon Marathon.
Yes.
So this was an important part of your preparation for that?
Yes, I can say it was very part of the preparation to run very fast so that I can handle the ladies of Lisbon and go maybe a PB or go for 70. It will be fine for me.
Lastly, Glenrose, what is it like to have top runners coming from other parts of the world, from East Africa, to come to South Africa to race against us here? Because usually the case is you have to go far away to Europe or to South America to race. What is it like to have all these people being brought here by the FNB Run Your City series?
I can say it is a very good thing because they're pushing us to go for PBs and running very fast time in South Africa, especially in FNB. The courses are very flat and fast, like European courses.
Glenrose, well done. Glenrose Xaba, well done, and all the best for your half marathon in Lisbon.
Thank you.
That's Glenrose Xaba, and she's the first South African female to finish here in a new personal best time. It shows that the course is fast and flat, and even though there was a little bit of wind out on the streets in Durban this morning, we saw an absolutely fantastic race. Stephen Lesego Mokoka is the men's champion, while Sheila Chepkerui won the women's race of the FNB Durban 10-kilometer city surf run.
Well, you heard it there from the men's and women's winner. Confirmation then of the results. Stephen Lesego, Stephen Mokoka, finally breaking his duck of a 10-kilometer victory here in South Africa. 28:12, better time than last year. Stephen Kisa, once again, the bridesmaid, so to speak. He was second here in 2017. He was fourth here last year. Kevin Kibet rounding out the top three. Good run by Precious Mashele. One day he's going to make that breakthrough and start getting onto the podium against these international athletes. Impressive run by Colin Malautsi too, down in 7th. And Umbulelo Matanga, 28:35. The homeboy, the local boy, they'll be very proud of him here in Durban. Well, Sheila Chepkerui and Evelyn Churcher breaking 31 minutes. Beatrice Mutai just outside of it. Sheila Chepkerui, of course, the fastest in the world this year. And a very, very good run by Glenrose Xaba. 32:45, a personal best, improvement on a personal best by 14 seconds. She'll be extremely happy. You heard how happy she was earlier on. Stella Chasang, the defending champion, finishing down there in 7th. Well, it was a phenomenal run by Stephen Mokoka. Very happy to take the lead. But the clock's still going for a lot of these runners right now. Race time is 42 minutes, so a lot of athletes will be coming through now. Sub 45, it's a big goal for a lot of the runners now.
Yeah, definitely. 45 minutes is 4:30 per kilometer, and I must say, Manfred, it is howling gales down here on the Durban beachfront. It is extremely windy, and if you had told me before the race that a 33:15 in the women's race would give you 10th place, I would have said you're joking. The women really came out here today to run fast, and there was some phenomenal racing there, as we saw Chepkerui taking that title, the fastest time ever in South African soil for a female runner over 10 kilometers. But a lot of athletes here coming through the line. 43:15 now, the official time, and Manfred, it's going to be exciting to see where those pre-race interviews where Mosi Bodi did with the athletes at the start, whether the gentleman improved his time from 47 to 30. I highly doubt it, but one of the female athletes that he interviewed was looking at a time of around 45 minutes, so keep an eye out for her.
Well, yeah, Kuhn, it's really good to see how many athletes are coming through. And a certain huge entertainment here on the finish line. It's become a tradition at the FNB Run Your City series. There's always entertainment along the route and at the finish line. But very, very good to see how these runners are now beginning to come through here on the finish line. And they don't look the worst for wear. I reckon a lot of these guys could have gone a little bit harder.
Yeah, I think the wind definitely would have slowed them down. It is quite strong here, but as I mentioned before, coming onto this beachfront stretch, they have the wind behind their back, so they'll have a very, very fast finish. And we can actually see, just looking over my shoulder here at the finish line, the athletes are literally sprinting over the line, so that wind definitely helping them. As I see Brett Challenor running under 45 minutes there, husband of Jenna, who finished a good 10 minutes ahead of her husband, but still a great run there by Brett, and I'm sure Jenna will be very, very happy with her run today. She's preparing for an international marathon, and happy with Brett runs too.
Well, Jenna was joking yesterday that she's tired of Brett not coming to races. He now needs to run races with her. So there you go, Brett. Challenge is accepted. Speaking of challenges, Mosi Bodi Whitehead will at a later stage go down to the Puma sprint and give it his best shot. We've been talking about 17 seconds, and 17 seconds is, of course, every single 100 meters that Eliud Kipchoge ran in his attempt yesterday to run for 1:59. 422 times he ran 17 seconds.
Yeah, that was really out of this world, Manfred, and that was the average, was 17 seconds over 100 meters, but I think his final 100 meter might have been closer towards a 14 or 15 when he dropped that 240 kilometer.
Well, Mosibori, 14 seconds it is going to be for 100 meters, and I hope you can hear that, but the masses are now coming in their droves. Remember, 9,000 runners, and most of them will be coming in round about 9 o'clock, 9:30.
Manfred, not to put you on the spot or anything, but in your current shape, what do you think you'd do a 10K in?
I wouldn't.
But you know, the 10 kilometer distance is a really nice event to take part in for everywhere from the elite athlete in the front to you know, a beginner athlete, even someone who's never run or walked a distance in their life. 10 kilometers is a really nice event, and you know, not to go so far like a half marathon, which is a bit unattainable for a few people running here today, but also 10 kilometer a stepping stone for distance up there towards the half marathon. And so we heard Denrose Akaba in an interview saying that she was preparing for an international race, and it seems that with Denrose Akaba, the further the distance, the better she gets.
Indeed, she does. A lot of speculation about what she would end up doing in the marathon. I hope she doesn't go to the marathon just yet. What I have noticed with these F&B Run Your City series and road running in particular is a lot of people who are not part of clubs. Durban, though, seems to be a little bit different. There's a lot of club athletes competing here, almost like there's a resurgence in club running here in Durban.
Yeah, it's definitely, you know, Durban is becoming a running hub, so to speak, in South Africa. You know, the famous park runs that take place all around South Africa. Durban hosts actually the world record for the most park run participants in a single event, and that's actually here on this stretch where we are. That belongs to the North Beach Park Run. And yeah, you know, the whole of Durban coming together today, close to 10,000 athletes in the Durban FNB Durban 10 kilometer, and perhaps next year, Manfred, if we're not doing the commentary, I think this is a race we need to do.
And challenge not accepted at this stage. Look, it has got to be one of those races that has to be on your bucket list. It is fast and flat. So if you're looking for a good time, this is where you do it. If you're looking for entertainment, this is where you come and do it. And if you're looking to get introduced to running at a more competitive level, if you would, than a park run, this is where you want to be. You can see by the droves of the runners coming through that certainly the F&B Run Your City series has made an impact, and people are becoming excited to be running again. A healthy nation is very, very good, and of course the more, and I see the turban there of Blanche Moyler. Did I see Blanche Moyler there? On the right-hand side, just to the left of the DHL sign, is Blanche Moyler coming, of course, a legend here not only in KZN but also in South Africa.
Yeah, definitely Blanche Moyler, the queen, so to speak, of running in KZN and also the country. You know, she's run, if I have to think back, Manfred, over 30 years her career in running that she's done in the sport. And not only herself a former elite athlete, but she's a coach, she's a mentor. You know, she's highly respected in women's circles around KZN, and she's always easily to identify with that white hat that she always wears on her head. And that's 60 on her vest, Manfred, being over 60 years of age. A brilliant performance, still breaking 50 minutes here today.
Blanche Moyler coming across the finish line. She does look like she's having a bit of a hard run out there, but it's all fun for her. And as you said, a very popular figure here. Blanche Moyler does seem to be, it looked like she was a hard run.
Yeah, well, to break 50 minutes over 10 kilometers, it's a really good running, under 5 minutes per kilometer. And I know we always make reference to parkrun and such, and if you had to just make an example of that, that's back-to-back under 25 minutes there for Blanche Moyler. So over 60 years of age, a brilliant performance by the well-known local KZN athlete.
Blanche looking happy now that she's crossed the finish line, and as we've said a couple of times, an icon here in South Africa on the road running scene, and certainly has inspired a lot of women to come to take to the roads. Also a full-time nurse, so a lot of hours on the feet, and just at the age, we're not supposed to say this, but the age of 60, still doing between 60 and 70 kilometers a week, and that certainly is very inspiring.
And if I'm not mistaken, Manfred, he could possibly also be the first Grandmaster across the line. Will be interesting to see the results there as we see some of the athletes coming through with a dog mascot there on his head, but brilliant performances by all these athletes. And you can actually see, you mentioned running is definitely on the increase in not only in South Africa but in KZN. And just to put that into perspective, Manfred, you see a lot of the different club vests. Majority of the athletes that are actually wearing the FNB Durban 10K t-shirts are actually not members of clubs. So that just shows you that these are athletes who are not actually even members of clubs, but they're interested in running. And you can see there are thousands of those FNB blue t-shirts along the route. So perhaps future club runners of the future here.
Well, indeed, and remember, over 40,000 athletes across the 3 races, over 40,000 runners across the 3 races in South Africa. The FNB Cape Town 12-1 run, that happens in May in Cape Town. It's the FNB Joburg 10K City Run, that happens on Heritage Day every year. And then, of course, we finish off here with the FNB Durban 10-kilometer Citysurfrun. But Kieran, interestingly also, we're now going into Maputo. We're going international.
Yeah, that's a very, very exciting initiative that Michael Mayer came up there with the 10-kilometer in Maputo. And it will be interesting to see, Manfred, do you think Stephen Mokoka might take that event on?
Well, yeah, I think Stephen Mokoka's putting his feet up right now for the rest of the year. But exciting stuff to see that a race that started, a concept that started 7 years ago, and we'll speak to Michael Mayer a bit about that a little bit later, came to fruition in 2015 with the first FNB Cape Town 12-1 run, where we brought out the great Vivian Chariot. So this race has always brought out top-class international competition. It has lifted the standard of South African running, and it certainly, as we can see here, has definitely in Durban and other parts of the country as well, certainly sort of raised the platform and has raised people's interest in running.
Definitely, and with this being an RAAF bronze label event, you know, Stephen's going to pick up some vital points today for that victory. Not only running a fast time, but picking up points for that world ranking system, which will also put him on good fare towards the rest of the world, getting appearance fees in different races. And, you know, the South African athletes don't have to go far these days to race against the best in the world. And you can see there that when the best of the world come here to South Africa, the pace, you know, is much faster, and the South African athletes are coming to the fore now. It's nice to see the athletes stepping up to the party, so to speak.
Well, speaking of Stephen Mokoka, we're going to have a quick look back now at how that men's race unfolded as Stephen Mokoka took his first 10-kilometer victory on the roads in South Africa in countless of years. So the elite athletes went off first, and it was a big bunch. Certainly the contenders field is growing. The organizers doing a fantastic job of getting this contenders field to get bigger and bigger every year. In the early stages, Elroy Galan certainly very prominent. Stephen Kieser, who was going for a sub 28, or rather sub 27, was sitting in the bunch at that point. At the early stage of the race, and a big men's bunch still together. But Kieran, it started to heat up very shortly after this.
Yeah, definitely. As the athletes made their way onto Masabalala Yengwe Avenue, it was Stephen Kieser, the Ugandan, who had found himself on the podium here twice over the last 2 years, that had said to the guys, you know, we're here not for a holiday camp, this is a race, let's make it harder. And it was Kieser who took the lead in the front with William Sitonic, the 2650 10-kilometer athlete just behind him. But at this stage, still a host of athletes in contention, quite strong, stark contrast to what we had seen in the previous editions of the FNB Durban City 10-kilometer.
Well, Stephen Kieser had to take the race by the scruff of the neck. He had to start injecting some pace because it was bunching. 2 kilometers they went through in just under 6 minutes, if I remember correctly, Kieran. And Stephen Kieser had to drive this, but this is the point where they started to string out a little bit, but still a very big bunch this early on in the race, and something we were not used to in the series.
Yeah, in past editions we saw the Swiss and European record holder Julian Wonders, who had really taken things out hard. But in this event, the wind was very, very strong today. The athletes, definitely in the men's race, so to speak, were going a lot slower as they made their way past the Moses Mabhida Stadium, the iconic Moses Mabhida Stadium from the 2010 Soccer World Cup. And that 2-kilometer split, Manfred, was 5:51. And I would say over past years, probably around 20 seconds slower to what we've seen before. So it was definitely a tactical affair in the men's race, as we saw Stephen Kisa, the Nike athlete from Uganda, that was trying to string things along.
Well, this is the point where the men's race looked like it was becoming a little bit faster, but they did end up bunching a little bit at one stage. Stephen Kisa decided, you know what, I've done my stint on the front, and this is where they then started to bunch up again. It was almost in the first half of the race, which was a pretty fast first half, 14:21, as if the runners were doing a bit more fartlek as opposed to flat-out racing.
Yeah, definitely, Manfred. And, you know, this was, because of the start, was a little bit slower in terms of the pace. As you mentioned there, 14:21 through the first 5-kilometer mark. That definitely played into the hands of athletes like Stephen Mokoka and Aurel Galant, who had recently just run marathons. So, you know, that marathon was still in their legs. And when you've got a marathon in your legs, you don't have that zippiness in your legs, that high turnover, compared to the guys who specialize in 10 and 21 kilometers as they made their way through that FNB water point.
Well, big bunch going through that water point with all the main contenders still in it on the left-hand side. Stephen Kisa, who was the pre-race favorite, certainly the fastest in the field with a 27:13, and was tipped to be the man to take the race by the scruff of the neck. And did say, as they went there through 4 kilometers, they did say that he doesn't mind being the favorite. He doesn't feel any pressure, that Stephen Kisa, but he certainly did have to work very, very hard here. Aurel Galant looking very comfortable. What was very interesting to me, Kuhn, is that at this point in time, Alroy was prominent to a degree, so was Stephen Mokoka, but no sign of Precious Mashela. He was sitting in the back of that bunch running a very, very shrewd race.
Yeah, Precious, as you can see, if you had to look at the back of that pack, there's the very short figure with the NN running vest and black running shorts. That was Precious Mashele, SA 10-kilometer champion. And the only time we saw him was towards the end of the race. He ran a very, very clever race. Definitely, I would say, the best tactic in a very windy race like we've seen today, just to sit in the back there and watch how easy the guys were going. But it was Kevin Kibet from Kenya, as well as Stephen Kisa, the Ugandan, who was trying to string things along. But as they made their way past the Kingsmead Stadium, Manfred, and towards the inner city centre, towards the Durban City Hall, it was Stephen Mokoka and Aurel Galant, the two South African athletes, together with Matanga, the local athlete in the colours of Pantane, who started to stretch things out. And from that, we could tell we were going to see something amazing fireworks about to happen.
Well, this was around about the halfway mark as they went through the F&B platform. And this is where the surges then also started to happen. Very, very different picture to what we've seen in the previous years with the racing. William Satonic in the back and in the field there. Stephen Kisa looking to make his presence felt again, and this is where Stephen Mokoka started to come through. This was just after the halfway mark, and he decided, hey guys, I'm still here. There he is looking around. He tends to do that. When he does that, you know he's very confident.
Yeah, definitely. We also saw that in the Doha World Championships, where Stephen kept looking behind, but it was on the far right-hand side of the screen, Sibusiso Nzima, the athlete in the colours of Nedbank Running Club, former SA 10-kilometer champion himself, that came through, and the two boxer athletes, Stephen Mokoka and Aurel Galant, you can almost see that they picked that up with Nzima putting through the surge there, and they were not going to let him go. And credit to Nzima trying to come through and run a quick time.
Sibusiso Nzima, we did mention he coaches himself, and he has had a few rough years the last couple of years with injury, but he's never been afraid to take the race by the scruff of the neck. He's never been afraid to lead from the front and throw in some surges, and it's only a matter of time, I believe, that he'll make yet another breakthrough. And still, this was a very, very big bunch as we got almost to the 7 kilometer mark here in the race. But Stephen Mokoka now very much part of that front bunch. Sibusiso Nzima still driving it. Elroy sitting in the back there. Precious Mashele sitting in the back. Stephen Kisa on the shoulder of Nzima. William Satonic there as well, looking very, very good. Bernard B also in that big group on this men's field. At this point in time, quite interesting, the elite guys coming close to the finish. You've still got a very strong, prominent group of runners, fast runners going past them. This is the Puma 100-meter sprint, which certainly saw a pace injection at this point in the race. This was at 7.6 kilometers.
Yeah, definitely, and it was Alfred Ngeno, the FNB Joburg 10-kilometer champion, who actually picked up that pace through that Puma 100-meter sprint. And it was as they made their way through to the beachfront that Precious Mashele, in the colors of NN Running, came through to the forefront. And this was the first time, Manfred, that he actually went through to the lead. He had bided his time in the back of the pack, but as they got to the 8-kilometer mark, it was Precious Mashele, but Stephen Mokoka was having none of that as they went through the DHL cheer point there. And Mokoka, you can see that right on his toes, that track pedigree. He's retired from the track now as he focuses on the marathon, but that track pedigree will never leave him. And you can see that running style, very high knee lift, high drive. And this was his final race, as he was saying. He had a very long season, and his wife, Zintle Mokoka, daughter of the late great Zutulele Sinkle, they were at home with their son, and no doubt watching this live broadcast, Manfred.
Well, certainly looking forward to having Stephen Mokoka back, but that was a very decisive move. At some stage we thought maybe, just maybe, Stephen had gone a little bit too early, but he had certainly thrown the hammer down. That was a massive challenge, and you really had to destroy Stephen if you were going to come back and win this. All the experience, all the years, and a big win for him. As I mentioned earlier, that he hasn't taken a 10-kilometer win here in South Africa in many, many years.
Yeah, definitely. Stephen, in the colors of Boxer Athletics Club, taking the victory here today. And the time now that we were going to be asking ourselves is, what time was he going to run? We saw that very, very slow start to the men's race. We say slow. Many people would love to run the speed that they were running, but in terms of the world-class athletes that were assembled, it was quite a slow time that they started with. They went through the 5-kilometer halfway point in 14:21, and now was the question, how close to a sub-28 could Stephen Mokoka get? But as I mentioned earlier, that records are there to be broken, but the titles will forever stay. And this was a title that Stephen Mokoka wanted more than anybody else in this race. The title, the champion of the Durban City FNB 10-kilometer.
Well, Stephen Mokoka really, really gunning it, and this is a long stretch, and the agony on the athlete's faces is pretty intense. That finish line just doesn't want to come any closer. Glance over the shoulders there by Stephen Mokoka. He knew he was being chased by Stephen Kisa as well as Precious Mashele, a little bit further in the background there, but Stephen Mokoka certainly had that one in the bag, and he had come through in his fastest time on this course and one of the fastest times in South Africa. 28:12 was that official time.
And just behind him was Stephen Kisa, the Ugandan athlete who was looking for a victory, followed by Kevin Kibet, himself second place in the recent FNB Joburg 10-kilometer. But it was a brilliant performance there by Mokoka, fresh off that World Championships marathon in Doha, where he finished fifth, just missing out on the medals. But if we look back, the top 10 of the FNB Durban 10K Citysurfrun, Stephen Leseko Mokoka taking that victory in 28:12, 4 seconds ahead of Stephen Kisa, the Ugandan athlete, with Kevin Kibet from Kenya rounding off that podium spot, 28:18. Precious Mashele, former SA 10-kilometer champion, 28:26, followed by Bekele and Gunafa in 28:33, and Wilfred Kimeli Kimatai, the Kenyan athlete based in the 10, again, rounding out the top 10 there in 28.45. Brilliant performance here today by the men in not so great conditions, given the fact that there was a lot of wind here today in Durban. But a brilliant performance there as well by Mboleli Matanga, the local athlete in the colors of Pantane Running Club. 28.35. That's his second best time compared to the 28.12 that he ran in Prague, 10 kilometer, not so long ago. But where we are here at the finish, just in front of the Suncoast the casino, is the runners streaming through to the finish line. Close to 10,000 athletes competing here in the FNB City Surf 10 kilometer, and brilliant athletes here today that we've seen. Running, especially in KZN and Durban, really on the increase. And as you see there, with the club vest amongst the people, all the athletes I mentioned earlier on in the blue FNB shirts, Mosibodi, they are non-club runners. So running definitely, especially in KZN, on the rise.
Definitely, and I think it's something we see across the country, because everywhere you go, you see lots and lots of temporary licenses. It shows that running is booming, and series like this, like the FNB Run Your City series, gives the novice who just goes for the odd park run or walks his dog a chance to say, let me see how far I can go. Let me run 10 kilometers and compare it to 28.12 or 27.16 and see how they fare. We're joined by Athletics South Africa President Alex Kosana, because we are ekakasini ka banana no moba for the Durban 10 kilometer run, and of course it's brought to you by FNB. Babs Kosana, firstly welcome, and how do you feel about the way this day has gone so far?
No, thank you very much for having me. It's quite an interesting day. If you look at the performances of our athletes from the continent in particular, it shows that there is a great improvement in road running, and most importantly the 10K. You see the times, but I'm more focused to the South Africans because they have outclipped the Kenyans and the Ethiopians. What else can I say? I'm very interested in that. But the event looks beautiful. It's easy, well organized. It's a good flow, flat course, and what have you. Yes.
I mean, just in winning the ladies' race, Sheila Chepkuri spoke about, for her, it was her first time in South Africa. And I know that when you go to CAA and you discuss as different African federations, there's always this feeling that we need more world-class races on the African continent, whereby Africans don't always have to travel to Europe to set their fast times, but can travel around the continent and race. So, I mean, you must be proud that South Africa is able to deliver a bronze status race like this, thanks to FNB, and that it gives an opportunity for athletes from across the continent to come here and set some really good times.
Well, you're right. There is a great need for African athletes not to travel to different parts of the world in order to do their best. And South Africa is one of those countries that can offer what the world can offer. We can even offer the best. And this is one of the races that we can be able to use for the African Championships and for any other purpose. So we are quite excited. But if you follow news in athletics, you know that there is an African continental tour that is going to start next year. It's on the road, it's cross country as well as track. There are about 6 competitions that must move from Joburg or South Africa to Kenya, to Ethiopia, to Nigeria, right up to Morocco. Mm-hmm. So it offers opportunities like this. We've already discussed it, and it's a matter of packaging it in such a way that it is going to be successful rather than to have a handful of athletes. So it must be part of the established races like this, and we improve and we get better sponsors and partners that will take this to the biggest in the world, rather than for our 10K fastest times to be set somewhere in Europe. They must be set on an African soil, because the African athletes are dominating this event.
And I guess it would not be possible without having so many sponsors like you mentioned. I just look around, I see FNB, I see Puma, I see Mitsubishi, I see DHL, I see East Coast Radio, who have all come on board to make a race like this possible. And of course now it's growing into other parts of the continent. We'll have an FNB 10-kilometer race in Maputo, not in the not too distant future, happening in November. How important is it for athletics in general to keep attracting big sponsors like this FNB, so that, yes, we have Stephen Mokoka, but we have others coming behind him?
Well, it's not only the sponsors, but it takes people with vision who will go to the sponsors and talk to them so that they can be able to buy in. And you are rightfully saying, a few weeks ago, it's about 2 weeks ago, we were speaking to the Mozambican Federation and FNB. The racing now is taking place in November, and we are talking to them so that we can be able to have the same thing happening in Swaziland, so that we end up having a tour in Southern Africa. You start in South Africa, Lesotho, Botswana, Mozambique, Zimbabwe. It's a tour, it's a series, and it will build the Southern Africa, it will build Africa, it will build the world of athletics.
As the fun runners come in behind us here for the 2019 FNB Durban 10-kilometer city surf run, people just chugging in here in over an hour and 10 minutes, enjoying their time out here. We're talking to Athletics South Africa President Alex Kosana, who is excited by what he sees and hopes that it will grow across the Southern African region. Lastly, Mr. President, Stephen Mokoka wins. He's happy, and he says that it's all down to good preparation. You spoke about preparation before they went to the World Championships and said that we want to assist our athletes to prepare well. And I guess when you see something like this, him performing well against the East Africans, as you've just said, it maybe says to you, this is happening well, let's do it again for the Olympics coming up in 2020. Let's pick our athletes early. Let's give them all the support that they need to prepare for Tokyo 2020, using races like the FNB 10 kilometer, like the FNB Cape Town 12, and all sorts. I'm sure that's in your thinking.
Well, it's true that we have done a lot of preparation, thanks to the athletes themselves for making themselves available and their personal coaches. And of course, I must mention Henrik Ramara. He volunteered when we said come, and he assisted these athletes. He's one of the greatest marathon runners. And you could see that even before going to Doha, Koka was prepared. You remember he ran a sub 60 minutes. And today he proves that he has been preparing, because these athletes from Kenya and Ethiopia, they are not small boys. They've got the fastest times than him, but he managed to track them and beat them on the line. Going forward, we will be announcing this coming weekend, as we are having the ASA general meeting, council meeting. We'll be announcing the plans that will be strictly followed by all our athletes who will be going to the Olympics. And one such will be the women's announcement of who is going to be in the team. And the men's marathon who is going to be there will pick up a bigger squad.
Oh,
what are they
so you'll
going
be
to
announcing
do? Where
early
are they
this
going
time?
to do it? Yes. You are falling out of that. You make one mistake, we take you out, because preparation is the key. And South Africans must believe in that. What Doha taught us is that if you prepare, you can win. Look at what Stephen achieved. It's number 5. People are complaining about number 5, but he became number 5. When did we last have number 5 in a marathon, running with the Ethiopians, the Kenyans, the Eastern Europe, the Americans, the Japanese, the Chinese, and all that? So it means that if we can put more, we will be able to achieve results in good conditions, as it is going to be in Tokyo. It's going to be hot and humid, but it's not going to be as bad as Doha, we are certain that we are going to achieve results.
Excellent. That's Athletics South Africa President Alex Kosana, who leaves us all smiling here. Kiwa nodding his head as well when he spoke about early preparation. And of course, early preparation is only made possible by having world-class events around the country such as these. The FNB Run Your City series is where you can find all that information, hashtag FNB Run Your City. And we look forward to the growth of this series, especially across the Southern African region. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And good luck in growing the series.
Thank you very much. Thanks to all of you for taking this to the backyards of our homes. Those who are sitting at home, they are already listening to what we are saying, and we cannot be able to say this. You help us to reach out to many people, the young ones who have already joined the sport. I've seen many of the 15-year-olds, 16-year-olds coming in, 30 minutes, 32, 33, and I'm saying South Africa is growing. And thanks to KwaZulu-Natal, and thanks to the FNB as a sponsor. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That's Athletics South Africa President Alex Kosana, and we'll continue with more fun here from the FNB Durban 10-kilometer City Surf Run.
Well, streams of athletes still coming through where we based down at the Durban beachfront as we go through towards the prize giving of the FNB Durban City 10-kilometer today. Beatrice Kimutai, the third athlete across the line today, followed by Evelyn Churcher, the athlete who finished second today, herself a 66-minute half marathon runner. She broke 31 minutes here today for the 10-kilometer, but it was all about one woman today in the FNB City Surf Run, and that was Sheila Chepkurui, the very, very strong athlete from Kenya, fastest lady in the world this year, that 29:57. And Manfred, she came down here today, wind or no wind, she ran a fast time, and she was crowned the victor, 30:55, the fastest time ever on South African soil by a female athlete, and it was Sheila Chepkurui, your champion for this year.
She certainly did come to make a point and meant business, did Sheila Chepkurui. So that's your top three then, and just the first two just under 31 minutes, with Beatrice Muta just not cracking the sub 31 minutes.
Well, phenomenal running by the women here in the 2019 FNB Durban 10K City Surf Run. And as you mentioned there with Beatrice, just missing that 31 minutes, sub 31 minutes clocking, but still three athletes, the top 10 finished off at 33:15 for the 10-kilometer. And if we had seen that in the wind, I would never have said that that many athletes would have come through towards the top 10. So great running. As we see on the clock there, 1 hour 17 minutes, but on to the men's race, and it was Kevin Kibet, third position here today, and repeating his third place, Manfred, from the 2019 FNB Joburg 10-kilometer, 28:18 for the man from Kenya. And he was just behind Stephen Kisa, the Ugandan athlete, who was looking to go one better this year and take victory to keep that Ugandan stranglehold on the FNB Durban 10-kilometer City Surf Run. But unfortunately for him, there was an athlete ahead of him on the line, as Stephen Kisa there receiving the accolades for his second place. But it was the South African athlete, the first South African athlete to take victory in the FNB Durban City Surf Run 10-kilometer, and it was the South African record holder over the 10-kilometer distance and recent record holder over the half marathon, Stephen Mokoka, in the colors of Boxer Running Club, who came through to take that victory, 28:12 on marathon legs, so to speak, just after that fifth place finish in Doha, as the president of Athletics South Africa, Alex Kosana, mentioned. That 28:12 there, Stephen Leseko Mokoka, his final race for the year, and a long season that he's had for this year. But Stephen Mokoka, your victor of the 2019 FNB Durban City Surf Run. You can just see how strong that wind is here, blowing off the wreath of Mokoka's head there. But it was a brilliant performance by the short athletes. They say that dynamite comes in small packages, and that definitely was the case for Stephen Mokoka as we see the strongs of athletes coming through here, Manfred, and it's amazing. Almost 10,000 athletes here today in the FNB Durban Citysurfrun, and the time now on the clock at just under 1 hour and 20 minutes, so around 8 minutes a K for these athletes as we see back to the Puma 100-meter dash. These athletes, Manfred, still 2.8 kilometers to go, so still quite a long day for them.
A long day indeed, but it's all about the fun out there, and well, it is a sprint, some of them taking it a little bit more leisurely. It'd be really interesting to see some of those 100-meter sprints. I'd love to know some of those times. And I remember also, Carl, that the people who are sprinting there stand to win a prize as well. And of course, it's all about chasing Bolt speed.
Definitely.
And, all about, so 6 kilometers here. These ladies are having an absolute blast. They're enjoying themselves. And this is what it's about. Having fun, being active. And 4 kilometers for these to go, but right now we're about to have a look back at how the ladies race, the race of the competition, unfolded. There we go. Right on the early stages of the race, on the front end, that was Evelyn Churcher, a 30:43 athlete. She ran that earlier this year. On her right-hand shoulder, that's Beatrice Mutai, also a sub-32 athlete, with Sheila Chipkorea, the fastest in the world, just hanging behind her. Tarunare of Ethiopia, the junior from Ethiopia, still looking very good. At that point, Q and Stella Chesang, the defending champion, was still in the mix.
Yeah, definitely. Stella Chesang from Uganda, the course record holder and defending champion, was still in the mix. But compared to the men's race that we saw earlier, it was a very different contrast in the ladies' event, with the ladies starting really, really fast. The men had a huge bunch of athletes that were bunched up together, but it was definitely Evelyn Churcher in the colors of NN Running that had Beatrice Mutai, Sheila Chipkorea and Tadunare, the Ethiopian athletes, in her tow. And the women at this stage, Manfred, already running sub-31 minute pace in this wind was phenomenal.
Well, they came here, they meant business. Sheila Chipkorea had said at the start when she spoke to Mosibodi Whitehead just how important this is to her, just how she really came here to race. It was not about coming and winning only, it was coming here and making an emphatic statement, and certainly from the gun, these 3 ladies were doing just that. At this point, Tarunara is still there as they went past Moses Mabida. Stella Chesang, the defending champion, had already dropped off, and that was hugely surprising for the ladies field. She did have a bit of a struggle at the World Championships. She didn't look as good as we've known her to be. She is the Commonwealth Games 10,000 meter champion. But no ways about who was driving the spans. Evelyn Churcher was certainly looking the pacemaker at this point in time.
Yeah, definitely. Churcher was the unofficial pacemaker, so to speak, but a world-class athlete in her own right, as you mentioned, that 30:42 10 kilometer. But the statistic that stood out for me was her 66:12 half marathon that was run in the recent Copenhagen half marathon in Denmark, where Jeffrey Cameron ran a new world record in the men's race. But the reason I mentioned that time was that conditions were, if not similar, worse than we experience here today with the wind. It was a very, very windy day, and Manfred 66:12 for a female athlete over a half marathon, world class in its own right.
Absolutely flying, and it's amazing to see just how women's running in particular, we've seen a lot about the men, but in women's running in particular, there's so much depth all of a sudden, and it's really good to see that the South African women are also beginning to make that move. They are no longer talking about 34s, they're wanting sub 33s. They're looking at even Glen Rose Garbo was saying before the race, she was hoping for a sub 32 coming into this race. Of course, the wind did affect her a bit, but certainly did not worry these 3 up front. At this point in time, Tarunara had also dropped off, and it came down to there you can actually see Tarunara dropping. If it came down to the driving pace of Evelyn Churcher and Beatrice Mutai now beginning to push a little bit. Sheila Chipkorea at this stage running a very, very shrewd race, letting the other 2 drive or do all the front running.
Yeah, definitely. Chipkorea was the class athlete amongst the 3. That 29:57 from the Prague 10 kilometer not so long ago, the fastest time in the world, and also her first race back since having a child. So Manfred, it's a lot of the times when the elite athletes run races around the world, they're always a little bit rusty once they've come back either from an injury or from the birth of a child. But for Sheila just to whack out that 29.57, besides showing her class today, I think we're looking at a future world record holder.
Well, that wouldn't surprise me. The world record, of course, is 29.43. In fact, it's a bit slower than that. 29.57 is what Sheila Chip Korea ran, and it's 14 seconds slow. So yes, my math is in fact correct. 29.43 is the world record. That was set last year, so this is not a record that's been standing for a while. Sheila Chip Korea dipped on the line, Dorcas Kameli, for that 29.57. There's definite depth coming through here, and we're going to see more and more, I suspect, women going 30, just above 30 and breaking 30 minutes.
Yeah, definitely, and the women's running is getting really, really exciting amongst the world. We saw earlier this year as well Brigitte Koskai, who actually takes part in the Chicago Marathon later this afternoon, running a 64:28 half marathon in the Great North Run. Unfortunately, doesn't count due to record purposes. It was a run on an aided course, but still, Manfred, where on earth would you hear of a female athlete running a 64-minute half marathon? Definitely, athletes are really, really improving, and great times are being run. But it's thanks to events like this, the FNB Durban Citysurfrun, that the athletes are running these great times by giving them opportunities to run fast times like this over 10 kilometers.
Well, we heard in the press conference Stephen Mokorka saying jokingly that with the way the FNB Run Your City series is going, he will no longer need a passport because he will no longer need to go and travel to compete internationally. And as much as he said that joking, that is not a bad sign. It is really, really good to see that South Africa is beginning to host a lot of label events. And first and foremost, we have two in the Run Your City series at Bronze Label, that being the Cape Town 12, and of course this event here in Durban, the FNB Durban 10K City Surf Run. Evelyn Church is still running, doing most of the front running at this point in time, with Sheila Chip Korea running a very cagey run, very, very shrewd run. And I asked her the day of the press conference on the Friday, whether or not she had planned to go out that fast. And in fact, they had not planned to go out that fast, but it became such a race that that's what the time ended up being. They were dead on their feet. So this a little bit more shrewd, a little bit more thought out maybe, but certainly Evelyn Church not here to be on holiday.
Definitely, as they made their way through past the Durban City Hall and the 6 kilometer mark, it was a split of 15:37 through the 5 kilometer mark that these three women athletes, female athletes, went through, and it was really, really a fast pace. But the question was, Manfred, Evelyn Church, who was doing a lot of the front running together with Beatrice Mutai, would it get to them towards the end? Sheila Chip Korea, obviously a very much faster athlete, that 29.57 was just biding her time, and I think at this stage that was the right thing to do.
Well, clever running by the Kenyan Sheila Chip Korea, and as Kieran said, you're coming back a year later after the birth of her first child. But this is the future of women's road running that you're looking at. It is no longer good enough to be running 32s, 33s to win races. You need to be running as fast as some of the men. In fact, Kieran, I would say that the two gentlemen behind these three ladies are doing their level best to hang on.
Yeah, definitely, and I think, athletes like Rivaldo Katz there in the colours of Esther Rafia, if I'm not mistaken, a sub 30-minute 10K runner himself, so having a bad day today, the win could be the excuse. But yeah, the women are getting to a stage now where elite men are starting to having to look behind their shoulders.
Well, you can't use the win as an excuse, because these three ladies are certainly driving the pace, and well, he has to tuck in behind and look after himself there. But this is where, when they hit the Pumas 100-meter sprint at 7.6 kilometers, this is where Sheila Chip Korea decided to make her presence felt and almost barged in between Beatrice Mutai and Evelyn Churcher, and just making her presence felt, saying, ladies, I'm here, don't write me off, you've got a race on your hands.
Yeah, and it was that 7.2 kilometer mark where it was Sheila Chip Korea who actually came through to the front for the first time And Manfred, there was this stage as well where we saw Evelyn Churcher slightly drifting back, and we thought that it was going to come down to a two-woman race. But Churcher, you can't write off a 66-minute half marathon runner, and she was back. She was there, and she wanted this title more than anyone else.
Well, this is where it started to really unfold. They hit the beachfront, the promenade, and Sheila Chepkorea started to wind it up. But Evelyn Church is still hanging on very well there. And Beatrice Mutai surprisingly started to drop off. She did look pretty fresh early on. But you just look at the running style, and they are motoring, they are moving. Yet it looks so easy.
Yeah, and it was down now to under 1 kilometer to go, and there were still 3 in contention. The question was, would Chepkorea's speed over 10 kilometers be fruitful for her? And we were soon to see that answer as Sheila Chepkorea started to drift ahead with Mutai falling back. But Evelyn Churcher was still on her shoulder. And just as we saw in the men's race, the pace down this beachfront finish straight was phenomenal.
And this is where the break between 1 and 2 and 3 started to happen. Beatrice Mutai beginning to lose contact with the driving Sheila Chepkorea. You can actually see that she is starting to push that pace quite hard. Evelyn Church is still on the shoulder, but Sheila Chepkorea definitely dominating. And this is where you could actually see the arms were moving. Sheila Chepkorea meant business at this point and had started her long sprint for the finish. And although the camera angle does kind of negate it, that gap between first and second was growing, and the gap between second and third was also growing. The question now was, would we have 3 ladies going under 31 minutes?
Yeah, definitely, Manfred. You know, the 30:59 belonging to Hilalia Johannes, the Namibian athlete, was the fastest time ever on South African soil. And Chepkorea was definitely on the schedule for that as she made her way down the finishing straight, passing a lot of the elite men in actual fact. And it was Chepkorea, the Kenyan athlete, who crossed the line first in a time of 30:55, a new course record and fastest time ever on South African soil. 2 seconds ahead of Evelyn Churcher, 30:57, with Beatrice Mutai, the third Kenyan across the line, 31:01, rounding off a Kenyan domination in the women's race, and also, just as we saw in the men's race, stopping that Ugandan stranglehold on the FNB Durban 10K Citysurfrun as your defending champion and ex-course record holder, Stella Chisang, only managing 7th today.
Well, a fantastic run also by Glenda, about 32:45, a massive PB, 14 seconds. The only South African, if my eyes don't lie, in the top 10.
Yeah, most definitely. Glenrose Kaba, the lone South African there in the top 10, with Gerda Steyn just finishing outside that top 10 there. Mary Akiru rounding off the top 10 there, 33:15. So a brilliant performance by the ladies today, Manfred, and especially with this weather, 33:15, really class.
Well, fantastic women's race, absolute fireworks in the women's race. We said the women's race would be the one to watch, and so it turned out to be. But right now, it's not just about those on the front. It's about those who are out there having fun. It's about those who are really enjoying themselves. And we're going to go down onto the finish line where Musibodi is speaking to some of those out there who are having fun.
Well, just over an hour and a half gone here in the 2019 FNB Durban 10 kilometer city surf run. A sea of FNB t-shirts streaming across the finish line, and perhaps some others that we know and not know, maybe not know too well. Hillcrest Villages, one of the longest surviving clubs here in Durban, this part of the world. Sisi, igama lakho?
Okay, Hillcrest Villages. I'm a proud Hillcrest diva. And survivor and strong.
Proudly Hillcrest Diva is what she calls herself. And the one thing that the two of you have in common, makeup. Nikijimanga makeup. You still look so fresh. Ukijimile in says, Kamalako Suga.
Ikamopagamile, Wagamakhanya, Suga Mashu, Kikijimile, makeup, it was easy as 1, 2, 3. So I have
South Africa.
So it was quite difficult for me because I was in training for almost 3 weeks because of the injury I have, and which it came back after I've run 3 kilometers. But I said, no, I'm going to do it with injury or with pains or without pains.
Well done, ladies. Well done. So, Bonafoot next year, Angish.
So, Soweto Marathon, so nje.
She says preparation for the Soweto Marathon. Well done. Now, we've got a huge group of runners. They're going to give us a big cheer. Right, the Dolphins, and we'll ask them to come a little bit closer. There are people, remember, watching this around the world who are tuning in via our live stream using the hashtag FNB Run Your City series. They're hearing about the Dolphins for the first time. So tell them, who are Dolphins, where are they from, and why do you love running?
We are Dolphin Striders. We're from the Dolphin Coast, Belito. And yeah, we're just a close community. Love running.
Awesome race. Awesome race.
Yeah.
How did you enjoy the race, ladies?
Absolutely loved it. It was amazing. And all the people, like the music and the dancing and the singing was phenomenal.
And I see some smiles there at the back. One even jumped over the fence to be part of this great. How was your run today?
It was lovely.
It was lovely. First time?
No, second time.
So you keep coming back?
Yes, I would, definitely, most definitely.
And it's my birthday.
It's your birthday? Can we have a big happy birthday?
Happy birthday!
That's the Dolphins, and they enjoyed the 2019 FNB 10-kilometer City Surf Run. Thank you, Dolphins. Thank you, thank you. And we'll be hearing a bit more from some of the finishers. Here's a 60-year-old gentleman who's looking nice and fit. This is a vest I haven't seen in a long time. Is this Verulam?
Yeah, Phoenix.
And how was your run? Your name, sir? Where are you from?
I'm from La Mercy.
And how was your run?
Oh, very nice.
You enjoyed it. We'll see you again next year.
Yeah, sure.
We'll see you again next year. So lots of runners coming. Ladies, come and join us and say hello, 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 hello. Hello.
First time race.
Your first time. Come and tell us. Binjani, first time. How was your first time? How was your first time? Firstly, your name. Who are you? Where are you from?
My name is Kanye Mtiane from Glenwood. I'm so tired.
Coco. Usase fresh. Ngikubona ngathi awugijimanga nokugijima. Uzizwa kanjani njengoba ugijimile 10 km?
Ngaqala phansi futhi.
Ngaqala phansi futhi?
Yes, all right.
She says she can do another lap. Sisi, usuka angiyazi le amaqhawe.
Respect. Yes.
So how was your race?
The race was fantastic.
Fantastic.
Yes, even sun was good on us.
It wasn't hot. I was telling her the outfit. Talk to us about this wonderful creation. Let's look at this wonderful outfit.
It's an artwork from one of the ladies in Pietermaritzburg. And the toots and the t-shirt, it matches. It's very good for the club.
Yes, girl.
The blue is the lemon.
Well done. Congratulations. Let's finally a gentleman, but also some ladies. This is a club that's been growing. Hollywood Bets. Tell us a little bit about your club. Firstly, Kamalako, and where you're from?
I'm here from Glenwood, part of the Hollywood Beds, a club that is growing. And we're hoping next year we double up. We're taking our friend here for her first 10K. Well, one of her many 10Ks.
Yeah. My name is Numbulani Samari. What an exhausting race.
Were you encouraging her, my brother? Were you encouraging her all the way?
I was pulling her, and we made good time. We started late, but we made good time. Yeah, no, I'm proud. She did well.
So it means you'll be back again next year for the FNB Durban 10 kilometer.
No, definitely.
Excellent. Well done, and we'll see you next year. There's last two gentlemen, and you guys are in matching colors. Are you brothers? Are you the same club? Tell us more, your names.
We joined as part of a corporate. We were invited, about 15 of us, and we decided to wear all the same colors. And it's been fantastic. 10 kilometers. I haven't done this maybe the last 10 or 12 years. So it's been fantastic to come and share in Durban early in the morning. And it's been absolutely great.
I'll let you catch your breath. I can hear you saying it's been fantastic. Lastly, how was your race?
I think the weather was beautiful. I think we just spoke about last Iran was 2 years ago. So we're going to use this as a kickstart to get us to get to 10Ks under an hour, hopefully.
Okay. I'll see you next year. I'll be waiting at the finish line at 1 hour, and you better not be late.
Under 1 hour, definitely next year.
Okay, thank you. So there you have it. Lots of fun being had and lots more runners streaming across the finish line. Manfred Seidler and Q1 Walker have more from the race.
Running past all those landmarks.
Well, lots of fun on the finish line, and the man who's made this all happen, Michael Meyer, MD of Stillwater Sports. It's been a dream 7 years ago. You started off with what was supposed to become the FNB Run Your City series. Started off with the Cape Town 12, the FNB Cape Town 12-1 run in 2015, and it's grown to 3 events and now gone into Maputo. 7 years ago, did you think you'd be sitting here and looking at this right now with these festivities?
Yes, absolutely. I think that it's a work in progress. We've got bigger plans even than today, but it's very, very exciting to see nearly 10,000 runners in Durban today in what we hope to make the fastest 10-kilometer route in the world. Africa has the greatest athletes. It was proven yesterday with a 1:59 marathon, and we should have the best road running events in the world, and there's no reason why South Africa and Africa can't do that. So we believe we're on that path, but there's a lot to do in the years to come.
Well, you mentioned the fast times. In the women's race in particular, we said on Friday that this is the race we should be focusing on, and they delivered. 2 of the ladies running under the all-comers time.
Absolutely. I mean, we had a bit of a win today, which is a pity, but still a phenomenal performance in the women's race. I mean, Stephen is just mind-blowing. The fact that he can, a week after coming 5th in the World Championships in the marathon, win this race today against world-class competition is amazing. So I think people are starting to appreciate what a fantastic world-class athlete Stephen Mokoka is. And our goal is really, in a country that loves ultra running and marathon running, to produce world-class performances on South African soil in the 10-kilometer distance.
Well, Stephen was joking at the press conferences. There's all these events happening. He doesn't have to travel anymore. He doesn't need a passport anymore. So obviously something is starting to kick in. You have an elite athlete program. Tell us a bit about that.
Well, I think the most important thing, I mentioned it just a couple of days ago, I think for us there's a strong correlation between these type of opportunities for South African athletes to compete against the best athletes in the world on South African soil, and what type of athletes we produce in the end that go to the World Championships. And I think there's been a lot of debate around the medal or lack of medal haul at the World Championships, but we strongly believe that these type of events over the 5 and 10 kilometer distance improve the quality of our athletes and will lead to medals in the World Championships arena.
Kieran was saying earlier on, we were looking back here at the runners crossing lines. He sees a lot of the FNB t-shirts, but also that the clubs seem to have been growing as well. So something is happening. Road running is not just on the front end, seeing a resurgence, but also on the back end.
Yes, I think there's a lot of different reasons for that. I think the park run is a major factor in getting people out there and active, but I think that people aspire to do something more, go faster. They've got different motivations, and we're trying to fill that gap, where you go from park run to the next level. And I think there are many, many more people that will join the series in the years to come. We've got over 40,000 competitors at the moment, and who knows, hopefully next year we'll have, with Maputo coming in and perhaps 1 or 2 other events, our aim is to exceed 50,000 participants.
Tell us a bit about, so Maputo now in November, and possibly further into Africa as well.
Yes, I think the FNB Run Your City series has been a South African series, and with Maputo being added now, certainly the vision is to make it a Africa running series, and it's easy, when you go to African countries. There's a strong culture of running, there's a strong culture of excellence in running, and I think it's very, very exciting for the future.
I think one of the things that's obviously very topical in not just in South Africa but globally is the environment right now, and you are Stillwater Sports and the FNB Run Your City series is at the forefront of trying to control basically plastics and pollution.
Yes, I think that my team that works on the event are not always happy about the additional challenges that it poses, but it's very, very important, and I think that we're not there yet, but I think just ensuring that we reduce the amount of single-use plastic dramatically has had an amazing impact. Even with our sponsors and our suppliers, it's got a knock-on effect. Suppliers are starting to provide whatever they're making for us and not use plastic or single-use plastic, and that's fantastic. And I just have to mention one other thing, Manfred. I think that this event is absolutely impossible without, our major sponsors sharing the vision of creating a massive participation platform across South Africa. So from the start, F&B and Puma and DHL and Total Sports and all the other partners have been absolutely on board in terms of what we're trying to create, and they must take most of the credit for what's happening here today.
And certainly if you go and look on the route, there's a lot of vibe points and they're very active and very involved in there. I particularly love the Puma 100 meter sprint.
Yes, I think what we did in the beginning is we said, what is the experience like for every single runner? That's where we started. I think the elite athlete program or the pro athlete program came afterwards, but we wanted to make sure that the experience for every single runner, from the first runner to the last runner, is as strong as possible and as exciting as possible. People have got to have a great time and go home and be enthused and excited. I think that's why the route is what it is.
Looking forward over the next couple of years, any sort of plans that you'd like to share with us, or are we still just in the planning stages?
No, I think that, obviously our goal, and we've said it, we'd like to break the world record in Durban on the 10K. Now that Kieran knows that takes good weather, it takes a fast course. I just have to say that the road closures and the cooperation from eThekwini municipality has been unparalleled this morning. It's been amazing, and I hope the runners all appreciate it. We're obviously impacting on people's lives by closing roads, but it's been phenomenal. And so all the cities, Cape Town, Durban, and even Maputo, are absolutely involved in the event, and they support it. And that can only, and answering your question, that can lead to better things. I think when you have the cooperation of the city and they see and they share the vision, then I think we're going to do amazing things in the future.
So how many races into Africa are we looking at?
Well, it's not necessarily, you don't necessarily need, it's not about the quantity, but I think it's also about the quality of the events and to make the events as big as possible. But for me, what's exciting is I strongly believe that, and of course some people differ from me, but I think we have a true pro athlete program around the event. And we do that because we believe that those athletes inspire the rest of the field to achieve. Look what Elliot Kipchoge's performance did yesterday. Facebook's full of people talking about how inspired they are. And when you see athletes like Stephen and Joshua and Stella and Sheila, Sheila being the fastest 10-kilometer athlete, women's athlete in the world this year, running, and their absolute humbleness and the way that they always have time speaking to people, I think that's fantastic. And road running lends itself to every single runner lining up on the start line with those runners. So that just makes it a really exciting prospect in terms of what we can achieve in the future.
Well, you mentioned a world record here on this course. Kieran was saying that Sheila Chip career could potentially break the world record, and if it hadn't been a bit as gusty as it was today, possibly it could have happened this year.
No, I think definitely, Manfred, with the wind, it really slowed them down. We saw a much faster second half coming through. And, Michael, with this being an RWF bronze label event, I'm sure there are aspirations towards gold. And once that gold label event comes through, we're going to have even more world-class athletes coming here. So I definitely think that F&B Durban Citysurfrun especially can be a potential world record event.
Yes, of course. As we saw yesterday, it takes an extraordinary effort to achieve that. You need pacemakers, and you need great weather, and you need a whole lot of things working together. We need to tweak the route, I think, at points. But I think the event moves to July next year. And that's, I think, from a weather point of view, you might know, in Durban, from Durban, that's the prospects of good weather are better. It's cooler. So we'll do everything we can, because if we do that, I think we've really made a statement for road running in Africa. That we haven't only got the best athletes in Africa, but we also can deliver performances. And in that regard, when we had the European record, 10-kilometer record being broken last year on African soil, it was quite a, I think, big step forward in that. I don't think that's ever happened before.
So 7 years in the making. We now got, it's now been running for 3 years, 3 events, and continuously growing. If you were to look back from 7 years ago, would you have changed anything? Obviously this is a learning curve as you go along all the time.
No, I don't think there's nothing I can think of. There's always ways of improving the events, and we certainly look at it with a critical eye afterwards to see how we can improve. But no, I think it's been a phenomenon on the South African sporting calendar. The fact that we can combine world-class performance with mass participation. I think that's critical to us. There are many events in South Africa that are mass participation, but we want that world-class performance on African soil in the mix. And I think that's we'll continue to try and find ways to improve that and to strengthen that.
Well, I think in particular this event has been, from that point of view, quite successful. Joshua Cheptegei last year's time, 27:16, the fastest on African soil, never mind South African soil. And then today's performance as well. So I think a lot of the boxes are being ticked. Michael, good luck for the future, and thanks very much for chatting to us. And yeah, I look forward to what the future holds.
And thanks Kieran, thanks Manfred. You guys are the athletics aficionados in South Africa, so it's fantastic to have you here today and to be talking about these great performances.
It's always it's a great privilege for us to be here, and if we're looking at what we've been seeing, it's certainly exciting from our point of view. I mean, we sit there and we're always analysing and we're going, what about these times? What about these times? To be able to be sitting here for us is also a big deal. So once again, well done. Thank you very much, and yeah, we're looking forward to what the future holds.
Thanks.
Michael Meyer, Managing Director of Stillwater Sports, and you've heard it here. Lots still to come in South Africa and Africa. So whilst all the festivities are going on the finish line, with a lot of activities here, it's really, really good to see how Durban has embraced the FNB Durban 10-kilometer Citysurfrun. Michael Meyer saying how much more they want to do, and really, really exciting stuff that still lies ahead. We're about to have a chat with the Michael Honeywell of FNB, as the clock, as Kieran, is coming ever closer to 2 hours, and this is now where more and more people will be coming in.
Yeah, definitely. You know, towards 2 hours of the event, as much as we go on and on about the elite athletes in the race and what's happening up front, these are the athletes that actually make up the event. Because if it wasn't for these athletes, you wouldn't have an FNB City Durban Surf Run. So these are the athletes that are making up that number towards 10,000. And you know, many people out here doing 10 kilometers for their first time, actual first time even doing an event. Some are doing it together with their loved ones, family members, work colleagues from different corporates coming together to take part today, and some even just doing it because unfortunately they lost a bet. So nice to see everyone out here today, really Durban coming together through thick and thin here at the Durban beachfront where we are based for the finish, and close to 10,000 entries. We probably see a little bit of dropout towards the finish statistics. Some people may have entered and then unfortunately couldn't take part due to either some illness or injury, but as we see the athletes coming through here where we are based at Suncoast Entertainment World, the finish venue of the 2019 FNB Durban City Surf Run, there are throngs and throngs of athletes coming through, Manfred, and we saw those brilliant performances earlier on today. Stephen Mokoka coming through for that victory, the first South African to take a victory of the FNB City Surf Run, and Sheila Chipkurui, the Kenyan athlete, running the fastest 10-kilometer ever on South African soil for a female athlete, that 30:55, eclipsing Hilale Johannes' 30:59. But Manfred, as we see the clock going towards 2 hours, really great excitement here today.
Indeed, and the obligatory selfie, of course, it is absolutely vital for these things, and it's really, really good to see what has been happening in South African road running, is that more and more people are coming out, they're having fun, they're making sure people know about it, and it's as we said earlier on, it's a healthier nation and so on. But these kind of events, 9,000 people here in Durban, 40,000 of an entire series would not be possible without the support of the financial support and logistical support of major sponsors. Michael Meyer earlier on was referring to them, was very appreciative of them. So we're now going to catch up with Mike Honeywell, Regional Head KZN Coastal FNB Business.
Good morning.
Good morning, Michael.
Mark, nice to have you here.
Thanks very much. It's amazing to see a sea of blue and turquoise just pouring through our city. It's just such a beautiful sight for us.
Well, the first question is, when I spoke to you on Friday, and I said sub 6, you said, give me a challenge. So what was it?
I must be honest and confess, today was the starting gun and the finish line. That's what it was for me. I haven't been able to run today, but yeah, it's great to see everybody else out there. PB's been broken all over. People taking selfies and memories, you know, and I think many people start running, and they start with these 10K runs and these family type events, and fitness starts for them, you know. That's the joy of it, and that's what we love being part of.
3 years ago was the first one here. We've seen some phenomenal performances on the front end. But we had just under 7,000 runners, if I remember correctly. It was right about that. And
five and a bit.
And now we're on 9.
And now we're on 9,000.
3 years.
That's incredible, eh? It's just, and people love the route. It's a mix of the promenade. You get into the city. You get around some of our old buildings down there, some of the new buildings, our Mozambique Stadium, which is a trophy, a monument for us in the city. It's a lovely scene. So people love the route. You're exposed to a little bit of everything, and they enjoy it.
What's the attraction from an F&B point of view?
We love being with all the people. It's so inclusive. It's for everybody. It's for families, for businesses, for corporates, and for the individuals, and for the people, just homes and families that can be part of it. So we love the inclusivity of the whole thing, and then we love the city, the promoting. We're proudly South African and proudly about our cities, and we love to show them off. In these little events and things like this, and then the memories, you know, people taking selfies everywhere, just enjoying the time together. That's very important for us.
F&B is very well known in South Africa for their concern about the environment, and now this is spilling over into the race as well, which is obviously something that you must be pretty happy about.
Absolutely. And then obviously, you know, the cleanliness of the roads. There's a cleanup that happens a lot beforehand, and even after the event, the responsibility of us to clean up and leave no footprint that would be destructive at all. So absolutely right. So for us, it's a very important thing of being a blessing and not being a curse to the city.
Where would you like to see, in particular, this event in your hometown go to? What would be your vision?
That's a great question. For us, I think we've got one of the tracks. The route makes for one of the fastest times. I think we can get the fastest times in Africa consistently here on this route. So on the top end, the elite end, we're going to get great times. I think in terms of the masses and all of us, the people, the corporates, it's a celebration. It's a celebration of just healthy living, of our city, of being together. And I think the numbers will keep growing. I think we will get ourselves up to the 15,000 that goes to Cape Town and to Joburg. We're going to get there 3 years in, and we've got 9,000 already. So I see a lot more growth, a lot more activation, a lot more celebration.
Well, Kieran, you are from Durban, and you know that the running scene in Durban, 9,000 is really good. 15,000 would be phenomenal.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, 9,000 for a 10 kilometer, one of the biggest races in the KZN province. And it's amazing work that FNB has done here together with Michael Mayer at Stillwater Sports to produce this type of event. And as I mentioned earlier, you know, as much as we talk about the elite athletes and the fast times that are up front, it's the masses behind us. And as you see coming through your screen now, coming through to the finish, that actually make up this event. So I think, as you mentioned there, 4,000 starters in 2017. It's already more than doubled now in 2019. I think within the next 3 years or so, we'll definitely see 15,000, and not only the fastest time in Africa, but perhaps a world record as well.
Wow, yeah, that'd be great. That'd be amazing.
Well, we did see the fastest time in Africa last year in the men's race. We had to. We said in the press conference that the women's race would be the one to watch.
Yes.
I spoke to Michael about it. I mean, obviously he comes from the racing background himself. When you see these kind of things happening, what goes through your mind?
So it's the participation for us. Personally, I know that a lot of our team, our staff from FNB in Durban are participating, and there's a little competition where they have the fastest time, and they have their own little competition. So we might have the winner, the elite field, but you get a lot of little PBs and little competitions that happen amongst little teams, whether clubs or corporates. And families are also trying to outrun each other. And so for us, it's again the participation that it stimulates. And you can see a few walkers being part of it, and even them, they have their own targets. I know some of my staff are walking this year, but they want to beat what they ran or what they walked last year. So again, it's the participation, it's the celebration, it's all part of the same moment for them.
And now, so you've been here for 3 years. The series has been running for 5 years, since 2015, and now you're going into Africa.
Isn't that exciting, hey? That's so amazing. And that bridge in Maputo that we're going to go over, it's an awesome achievement architecturally. So I think that's going to be an incredible moment too. And I think you're going to find this whole series, the Run Your City series, we are constantly trying to just raise the game and keep it interest and keep setting new milestones and adding to it. So watch this space.
Well, Michael, you missed out on this year's run.
I did.
Are we going to see you running next year?
I'd love to run this. I've got my son here, and he's dad. He wants to beat me, so he's in for this.
Challenge accepted.
Yeah, so there's another challenge. Eh? Yeah.
Well, Michael, best of luck for the future. It's fantastic to be here. We're counting down for the 2-hour mark as the runners keep streaming through. It's a phenomenal achievement to see how the series has grown in such a short time, and we wish you the best of luck for the future.
Thanks so much, Manfred. Thank you. We've loved having you guys, and a great job you've done streaming this. I know a lot of people are watching it on the different screens, so thank you for all you guys have done. Thanks very much.
Well, there you have it then. Mike Honeywell of FNB has committed to running next year. He loves how the race is growing. He loves this, but now he needs to go and experience it. You did run last year.
I didn't. Actually, I ran the year before. The old route.
So you need to experience the new route.
I need to do the new route.
And he's been challenged by his son. So the challenge has been accepted. Just as the countdown hit 2 hours, we're going into Africa as well. And still lots more fun. Still lots more fun to come. And still lots more excitement coming as the runners keep on crossing the line. Thank you.
Breaking the 2-hour time there, as we saw yesterday, Eliud Kipchoge becoming the first human in the history of athletics to run under 2 hours for marathon. That 1:59:40 Manfred was out of this world, as we saw that 2-hour barrier for the athletes today competing 10 kilometers.
Well, that's actually quite phenomenal. And to put that into perspective, Eliud Kipchoge has run 4 times and a bit as far as these people have done. It just goes to show how incredible, how amazing the sport is, and what the athletes that are out there, the potential that is out there. Eliud Kipchoge saying no human is limited. Alfred Geno said that yesterday on Friday at the press conference, and also the runners they're coming through now as well. For them, it's also a case of breaking their own barriers, setting their own targets, going through their own limits.
Yeah, definitely. And as Eliud mentioned there, no human is limited. I'm sure a lot of the people taking part today have also got that mantra that no human is limited. A lot of them today doing their first ever 10 kilometer distance, and 10 kilometers is far. It's not a walk in the park, so to speak, as we see a lot of the athletes walking across the line here. But Manfred, we have another guest in the studio.
We do indeed. Bianca van Staden, welcome from Mitsubishi.
Thank you very much. Nice to be here.
It's your first year involvement. What's it been like?
It's amazing. So after running the Cape Town and the Johannesburg FNB myself, it's really amazing. The roads are perfect. Events are planned very well. What I tell my friends and family, it's actually amazing where you run, where you won't actually go into your own city. So just to be part of the event, the vibes, it's amazing. Today I've been part of the spectator point of view, just to experience it all, and it's amazing.
So you've run it yourself. You've run the other 2 races as well. So we've got a real runner here with us as well. What's been the reasoning for Mitsubishi to get involved?
So for us, our vehicles are, we position ourselves as a lifestyle brand. So we want to be part of people's lifestyles, whether it's been running in the city, taking you on an adventure off-road. Our vehicles are very practical, so whether you want to add a surfboard onto your rooftop of the vehicle. So for us, it's really to be part of the lifestyle. Running is a lifestyle, so the association for us was just a perfect fit. And then obviously there's thousands and thousands of people being part of these events. So to have the exposure at these events are a very good fit for us.
In terms of your involvement at the event, do you want to elaborate a little bit on what Mitsubishi brings?
So what we do at the events, we've got a main vehicle leading the race pack. We also display the vehicles in the main area where customers can view the vehicles. And yeah, we've got the speedometers pacing the runners on the way, and yeah.
So the vehicles that are here, they're only on display. I can't now jump in and throw some donuts.
No, so no, just for security purposes and all of that, we won't do that. But yeah, the vehicles are on display, so people can view the vehicles. If there's any interest, we then take the customer to a dealership where they can actually then test drive the vehicle and get more information, see whether they qualify, and so forth.
In terms of your involvement with road running, you yourself are obviously a keen runner, having run 2 of them. What is the long-term view?
So for us, it would be nice to be part of Stillwater for the long term. It's just a great association of the lifestyle that these events offer. So there's also cycling events, running events, and as I explained, the lifestyle association is just great for us. And the events are planned so well. Like I said, I've been starting to do the running myself, and yeah, it's amazing.
It also helps when you've got an entire road closed and your car is driving through it.
Running the back, yeah, no. If you've seen some pictures on social media as well, it's amazing seeing that vehicle just coming in, this masses of people following it. Yeah, no, it's definitely amazing to see it.
What's the feedback been like? You spoke now about social media. What's the feedback been like and seeing the Mitsubishi going there?
So the first thing that people always say is, wow, check that amount of people. So yeah, people don't realize how many runners and families come together to experience these races. Also the well planned. To experience this race is just amazing. You'll find that the roads are clean, they're open. It's just amazing the vibe that's going on, whether it's from the sponsor side, whether it's the crew or people running. It's very well planned. So it's a great pleasure for us to be part of an event like this.
So you've run Cape Town, you've run Joburg. You're hoping to run Durban next year?
Yes, definitely.
Right. So what's the challenge?
So
Elliot Kipchoge broke 2 hours. What are we looking at for Bianca?
So my best one for the FNB, I'm not like an athlete, as I can say it. I'm just doing it for the fun. My best time I think was 1 hour 3 minutes. So I definitely want to break that time. Hopefully, let's see if I can do it.
There you go, Bianca van Staan breaking 63 minutes on this course next year without the help of a motorized vehicle. The name of Mitsubishi. You're going to have to run it. You can't drive it.
Oh, what a pity.
There we go. Bianca van Staan of Mitsubishi, and of course one of the major partners of the FNB Durban 10-kilometer city run and the FNB Run Your City series in particular. Still lots of athletes out there. Still a lot of people having fun. Still enjoying the vibe. The wind has died down a little bit, but this is what it's all about for a whole host of the people out there, and all decked out in the FNB Run Your City series shirts.
Well, beautiful scenes here from the 2019 FNB Durban Citysurfrun, and lots of selfies still going on at the finish. Manfred, there's a mother pushing her daughter in a pram, and perhaps that my little son should be doing the same thing next year.
I was about to say, why is Ethan not there?
No, Maddie is walking around with Ethan around here, but I've just been getting all the phone notifications from my bank saying she's been buying coffees all over the show. So I think a lot less coffee next year and more running for both of them.
Well, it is incredible to see just how the masses keep coming in here. We've spoken about this on numerous occasions. 9,000 people. And it's really, really good to see just how the sport is, from a mass participation, is growing. But you know, I've always said that the more people that compete, and yes, for them, for most of them, it's about having fun and having that photo, and like, look, what did I achieve? But there are also those who start getting ambitious and start pushing themselves, and all of a sudden, we see like a knock-on effect that hopefully will spill over into the top end.
Yeah, definitely, and we see that a lot. I mean, if you had to just think of an athlete like Gerda Steyn as an example, back in 2015, she ran an 8-hour Comrades. She wasn't really anything to speak about.
And here she wanted to run 33, break 33.
Now she was trying to break 33, exactly. She became the first person in the history to run under 6 hours on an uprun. So that's not just on the elite end, that's from someone who started running just to lose weight, just to try and see if they can be competitive. And we'll start seeing it here in the FNB Durban Citysurfrun as well, as that little child will be really, really happy for that the 10-kilometer journey is over. I'm sure there will be a lot of photos on Facebook later.
Well, still the runners are streaming in, and still a lot of activity out there, and certainly looking forward to the next 20 minutes or so that we bring you this live stream here from the Durban Promenade. It's the FNB Durban 10-kilometer city surf run. It's the 2019 edition, and we saw some spectacular times in the front. Stephen McCorker taking his first 10-kilometer on South African soil in many a year. A superb run by Sheila Chipkirio, the world's fastest woman this year over 10 kilometers. She came here and showed exactly what she's capable of.
And Manfred, there was a lot of talk earlier about Mosibodi doing a quick 100-meter sprint in the Puma 100 meter. So I'm quite anxious to see whether he'll still be doing that or not. Try to see what time he could run and see if it's quicker than the 17 seconds that Elliot averaged yesterday. But having said that, the runners are still streaming across the line. 2 hours, 11 minutes. The clock has just ticked over 2. And I wonder how many athletes are still out on the road, Manfred. Still quite a considerable amount.
Well, the message just received was that we were going to send Mosibodi back to that Puma thing, but the athletes are all through. So they are beginning to come in now. I think this is we are now starting to see the rest of the field. Pretty much the end of the field coming in. So unfortunately for us, but luckily for Mosibodi, no 100-meter sprint.
I think we need to arrange one on the last 100 meters of the finish, Manfred. What do you think?
Well, the joke, of course, was that we were saying could Mosibodi break 100 meters, 17 seconds for 100 meters, which is what Elliot Kipchoge averaged out for 422 consecutive 100 meters when he broke that 2-hour barrier yesterday in that incredible run. 1 hour, 50 minutes and 90 seconds. And that is quite a phenomenal achievement.
But close to 9,000 finishers, as we've seen here today in the 2019 FNB Durban City Surf Run. And Manfred, we saw some phenomenal performances. Just in case some of the viewers are only tuning in now, South African athlete Stephen McCorker took the victory, becoming the first South African athlete to take victory in the FNB Durban City Surf Run. A phenomenal time, 28:12, only a week after that fifth place finish in the World Marathon Championships, as he finished ahead of Stephen Kisa, the Ugandan athlete, who was looking to keep Uganda on top of the podium here, as we had seen in the 2017 and 2018 editions. But in the women's race, Manfred, we had Sheila Chipkirio, phenomenal athlete, the world's fastest athlete of this year with the 29:57, taking victory today in 30:55, the fastest time ever on South African soil by a female athlete, just in front of Evelyn Churcher, who came second in 30:57, only 2 seconds back, with Beatrice Mutai third in 31:01. Phenomenal running in both men's and women's races today, Manfred.
Absolutely, and there's some phenomenal athletic performances here today, but there's also some incredible athletic performance with an oval ball happening very soon. The Bokker, of course, in Japan for the Rugby World Cup, and we sent our crew out onto the road to go and get some well wishes of some of the runners out there for the Bokker.
All the best, guys. Go for it. Well done.
Well done. Nice one.
All the best, Boogie.
be here for the video. Happy, nice pictures. So excited you are.
Very, very much.
Very excited.
Very much.
Almost.
Wow.
Well, that's, of course, one of the messages there for the book, and certainly wishing the Springboks well in Japan in the Rugby World Cup. But for us right now, it's all about these masses coming through with their phones. It's almost obligatory to be doing a road event, a road race event, with your phone these days.
Well, Manfred, if it didn't go onto Facebook or Instagram, did it even happen?
Well, there's also the saying about Strava too. But yeah, it's really good to see how people are out there and having fun and looking at healthy lifestyles, which was absolutely phenomenal. The sport in itself, road running in itself, Kieran, has grown immensely. I mean, if I go a little bit, I'm giving away my age now, but if I go back 20, 30 years when I was running and racing, we never saw fields of this size.
Yeah, definitely. You know, mass participation events in South Africa is definitely on the grow. The trend is following. As you mentioned, you know, earlier, just 2 years ago, the very first FNB Durban Citysurfrun, there were around 4,500 runners. We're talking about fields of close to 10,000 today. So that just shows the growth in the sport. And, you know, although the times at the front are even getting quicker and we're seeing more elite athletes, it's all the athletes that we see on our screen now that are coming across the line that make these events happen. And don't be surprised if within a year or two some of these athletes are taking up a half marathon.
Absolutely, and this is the foundation that gets laid for the growth of the sport, so to speak, and all of them coming through and having fun with their backpacks and got to take the photo. I wonder how many photos have been taken out on the route. Specifically, we got all those landmarks as well.
Yeah, definitely. You know, you've got some iconic landmarks along the way. You know, as the athletes make their way through the centre of town, the Durban City Hall, and then of course the iconic Moses Mabhida Stadium. One of the most beautiful stadiums, in my opinion, not just because I'm a local from Durban, but I think it's one of the most beautiful stadiums in South Africa and if not the world.
You're biased. And so you should be. You are from Durban, so you should be biased. It is... Having looked at the route and knowing this area, it really is a fantastic place to come and run. If you come here in the evenings or even in the mornings, there's always people running up and down and so on. So it's a fantastic area to finish. It's a wonderful setup here in this long stretch that you come in. I still say that long stretch, if you're pushing for a time, is agony. But they are enjoying it the last kilometre and a half along the beachfront, catching up with friends, catching up with family, and that's what this is all about here. Just making friends and being active.
Yeah, you know, being active, healthy lifestyle, you know, keeps life a lot longer as well. You know, running especially and walking for that matter, one of the most healthiest activities and cheapest activities as well that one can do, and the benefits are immense.
The benefits are immense, and certainly if you have a look at how the sport is growing and so on, it's incredible just to see how we used to come and we would run in a T-shirt that you grabbed out of the cupboard. An appearance wasn't important. That has all changed. People are taking pride in themselves, and they wear the F&B T-shirts with absolute pride. And so they should, because what was happening here is it's 10 kilometers, and yes, we are an ultraman country, which we shouldn't be. We've got some really good front-end runners, as well as people who are you know, enjoying themselves here, and they should take pride in what they've been doing.
Yeah, you know, to complete 10 kilometers is a massive achievement in its own, and it's not only the, you know, on the day of the event where you have all of these stories and the likes, you know, it's the build up to the event. Although there will be a lot of people who literally just woke up today and did 10 kilometers outright for the first time, a lot of other people would have trained for this event, so they would have been talking to friends, family, work colleagues about the events. I'm training for the FNB Durban Citysurfrun. Come and support me. And then, as you know, we've seen so many phones out there, many selfies going onto social media, onto Facebook, onto Instagram, and that keeps the conversation building as well. How was the run? People will still be talking about this achievement a week from now.
Absolutely, and hopefully we'll see them back here again next year, and more of them to try and break their own personal goals. We've got 12 minutes before you break the 2.5-hour barrier, and it's interesting to see how, as you get closer to, let's call them certain cut-off times, like 2 hours 20, 2 hours 30, there's this mass of people coming through, because even though they're out there having fun, they're going, I do want to get in under that time.
Yes, and as most of these people that are finishing in these times aren't competitive, so to speak, you're quite right, Manfred. When it comes to the time getting closer towards the end, all of a sudden, we have a future Usain Bolt. They are sprinting for the line.
Well, whilst the masses start to come in here and enjoy the last 10 minutes, Mosiburi Whitehead is down on the finish line, grabbing some of those who are having fun.
Some of the last few runners are finishing, taking selfies. Let's take a selfie. Yay! Having fun as we finish the FNB Durban 10-kilometer city surf run. I'm joined by some ladies here who've just finished, walked and run. Angiqale ngawe sisigama lakho uqhamuka phi?
Unqobile ngokabe ngiqhamuka kaSemlazi.
Ibinjani i-run yakho namhlanje?
Being dead difficult, but there are two challenges. Inyawo zami nje seziyafutha manje kodwa nje I'm keep on doing it.
Inyawo zakhe ziyafutha uphethe amajaqamba, saying that the legs, she's feeling it, her feet are feeling hot. Here's someone who did it for the first time. Igama lakho sisi?
Igama lami nguVuyokazi, ngiqhamuka eMontclair. I-race yami yokuqala, in fact walk yami yokuqala. I had fun. I'm looking forward to this race next year. I've started and I'm not stopping.
Aha, first time you've started and you're not stopping. So next year we don't want to hear stories.
I'll be the first one to register online.
Sisi, igama lakho?
Hello, Molly here, Kwamashu. I shaved 10 minutes from my 10-kilometer time. Lifters were not meant to run. Woohoo!
Hey! Well done, ladies. Well done. We'll see you next year. More runners coming to us. More runners coming. Hello. Ninjani. Ningabobani. Where are you guys from? How was your walk? How was your run?
It was fine. I'm very happy.
It was so lovely. I had so much fun. I'm so happy to be here.
Will you be back again next year?
Yes, definitely.
Okay, lads. Now, ngomunye ongena ngefosho. Was. Yeah. Hola. Igama butisa?
Simpiwe Shezi.
Sondela bakubone. Angizwa igama?
Usimpiwe Shezi.
Uqhamuka phi?
Ngiqhamuka eMaritzburg.
Okay, all the way from Maritzburg uzogijima i-Durban 10K.
Yeah.
How was your run today?
Beautiful. Wow, we took it easy today, but some nosisi wami and nje besenzela ukuthi iqede. It was a fun walk.
Yeah.
Yes.
You look like rugby boys. Here's one wearing a Sharks Academy shorts. How was your run? Come closer. What's your name, my brother?
Nkosi Shezi.
How was your run?
It was amazing.
You'll be back again next year?
Surely. Definitely, yeah.
Awesome. And there's the sister as well. Don't stand so far away. You're looking like... did they support you well on the run?
They did. We took like 2 hours and they were behind me all the way. They didn't rush me. They were having so much fun, dancing all the way. It was so much fun.
Okay, good. So you'll be back next year?
Definitely back.
Good. Now let's go those dancers. Come, the dancers. Come, ladies. Come. I like those dance moves that were happening. How was the run? Your name?
It was fabulous. My name is Mbali.
And is this your first time, Bali?
Yes, my very first time.
So you'll be coming back again next year?
Definitely.
We will see you next year. Bali! Bye-bye! So lots and lots of people still streaming across the finish line here at the FNB Durban 10-kilometer city surf run. We've got a couple more who just want to say hello. Igama lakho sisi?
Notando.
Where is Notando from?
From Umkababa.
Kababa. Uze no dadweni? Oh, they look like sisters. They are friends. Yeah. How was the walk run?
It was superb. We are so energized. We can do it all over again.
Another lap. I love it. I love it. I love it. Will we see you again next year?
Definitely, we're coming back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good to see you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. There we go. Lots of fun. And everyone is going to be back next year. So we look forward to the 2020 edition as we get a few more streaming across the finish line. Babies as well. Babies as well. Hello. Hello. Okay, tell me, what is the secret to pushing the pram and walking for 2 hours?
What is the secret? There's no secret. It's just walking.
How was your walk?
It was good, nice.
Good and nice. Hello, hello. Come closer. What's your name? Awande. How old are you, Awande? 11. What school do you go to?
Clarence Primary.
And who did you come here with today?
Mommy.
Your mommy. Who was walking faster, you or your mommy? Umshiya phansi. Sisi igama lakho?
Phumelele Smith.
Uqhamuka kuphi?
Kwamashu.
Kwamashu. And uze ney'ngane namhlanje?
Yebo.
Bakhipha nje and how was the day for you and the young man?
It was a lovely day.
We'll be back again next year.
Yes, definitely.
Good. Hello, come. Hello.
Hello.
What's your name?
My name is Luyanda.
Luyanda. How was your run? Did you walk or run?
I walked.
You look tired. Are you tired?
Yes, I'm very tired.
Is it your first time running so far?
No.
How? No? When do you usually run 10Ks and all of that?
Total sports.
Total sports?
Yes, I didn't.
So you're used to this?
Yeah.
And is this your friend or your sister? Your sister? Hello. What's your name?
Lisa.
Millie. Well done. Lisa. Well done, Lisa. Sharp. Okay, so even the little one's having fun. She says this was not her first, it won't be her last. She's just a little one under 10 years old and will be back again for the FNB 10-kilometer Citysurfrun. I've had an awesome time here today. I think the highlight for me has to be Stephen Mokoka just taking charge of the race and winning that race in 28:12, but also all the people having fun and finishing the race here has been a great highlight. Gentlemen, Manfred and Kieran, what has been your highlight for the 2019 FNB Durban 10K run?
Well, Mosibori having a lot of fun down there. Stephen McCorker, his highlight, you've got to give it to Stephen McCorker, Kieran. But for me, the highlight definitely was the women's race. It had to be. We hyped it up in the leading up to the race, and they did deliver two fantastic times there.
Yeah, definitely. Sheila Chepkurui, as you see on our screen there, it came down to a sprint finish between her and Evelyn Churcher, both of them Kenyans ahead of Beatrice Mutai. And it was without a doubt one of the most well put together fields in terms of elite athletes ever on South African soil. And that definitely was the case with Sheila Chepkurui coming into the race with the 29:57 10 kilometers, the fastest time of the world that year so far, running 30:55, finishing 2 seconds ahead of Churcher, the fastest time ever on South African soil.
Well, a very, very deep women's field, but you cannot take anything away from this performance. Stephen Mokoka said at the press conference he's going to go out a little bit conservative, but after 5Ks, if he's still feeling good, he'll make his presence felt, and he did, winning his first race on South African soil, over 10 kilometers in a number of years, 28:12, improving his best time here, and that meant a lot to Stephen Mokoka and breaking the foreign domination, Kieran.
Yeah, definitely the first South African to take a victory here in the FNB Durban Citysurf 10K run, and a week after that Doha performance. Brilliant.
Well, 2 minutes to go before you break that 2-hour 30 barrier. And it has been a fantastic day here in Durban. The wind has been blowing. Very, very quick, short comment from you. It did not affect the women's race, and I would even hazard a guess the men's race.
Yeah, 28:12, still a very fast time over 10 kilometers that we saw Mokoka run. Brilliant performance in this win. I think on both the men's and women's race, we saw some brilliant performances. Without a doubt, Sheila's 30.55, the standout for me today. But I would put it alongside Stephen Mokoka's victory today. It was a phenomenal performance. But I think, next year with the event moving to July, I think we will see some even faster times and even perhaps over 12,000 runners.
Well, that's it here from the FNB Durban 10 km City Surf Run. We hope you enjoyed the broadcast. See you next year.